And welcome everybody to the Jim Masters Show Live. I am your host, Jim Masters. Great to have you with us today. Hope you guys are doing well all around the world. Wherever you're watching from, this is your entertainment lifestyle talk show series that we launched 13 weeks ago as of this week. And thanks to everybody for all the love and the support and the blessings of great comments and everybody telling everybody about this show as well, spreading the word. Again, as you guys know, I do this professionally as a television radio host, journalist, actor, voiceover artist, narrator, writer, producer, stage MC. So I've been doing this for a long time on television and radio and networks and the like. And it's a pleasure to be doing this show and having so much fun with all of you around the world and interacting with you uniquely and directly here live. Every single night we do this show. That's right. We're live every single night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on Jim Masters TV, which is on YouTube and on Facebook. We simulcast simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook. And I tell you, so many people still discovering this show and telling us they love what we're all about, which is positivity, inspiration, light, love, and levity, or the word that we created and coined here, levity. We've had some really deep conversations with people about all different topics. We have a lot of fun. We have music and food and great guests and from all walks of life: television, music, film, science, the arts, food, health and wellness. And tonight we're going to be talking about relationships. If you noticed, our graphics are red tonight. We're going to put a little love, maybe spice up the romance, maybe enhance that friendship you have with that friend. Maybe you want to enhance the relationship with your spouse, your partner, maybe other family members. During this time that we're living in right now, a lot of people are together in the same households. So you want to make sure that you maximize those relationships, but also maybe you're on the dating scene. Maybe you've had relationship situations that haven't always turned out to be the best, and you need some advice, you need some support. Well, coming up in just a moment, Rick Soetebier is here, and he's an extraordinary and renowned relationship coach and expert, author, and speaker. And he is my guest during this particular episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. He's all set and ready. If you have questions, he's willing to answer questions as well. We are live here right now, so take advantage of that. The expert is in the house, the relationship expert. And if you have any questions about something you're concerned with, you're struggling with, any issues whatsoever when it comes to relationships of any kind, it doesn't have to necessarily just be a love relationship. It could be getting along with a friend or a neighbor or relative. So put those questions together and feel free to put them in comments, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. But of course, we're going to have a good conversation with Rick and learn about his incredible career, some of the accomplishments and wonderful things he's done for people. He's also a fabulous author too. So he has a book we're going to talk about and lots more. I welcome you to the show. Again, Jim Masters here. How you guys doing? I hope you're having a good day today. We've been really busy. Again, we had a heck of a storm come through this area recently. A lot of people are still without power. There's a lot of cleanup happening. We're here in the northeastern United States in the greater New York City area between New York and Boston, right on the coast. And the East Coast, and specifically the Northeast too, as well as the Carolinas, took a pretty good hit with the tropical storm Isaias, which was the hurricane. So everybody is still, we're good here. Whew, angels above. We didn't lose power. We didn't lose internet. No damage at all. However, a lot of people did suffer tree damage, power lines down, electric, no water, things of that nature. So it's been really just something to add to this particular crazy nutty year, right? So count those blessings, as I always say, and count those joys that you have in your life, as we do all the time here on the show. As well, we always toast our audience from around the world. We have a worldwide international audience, and that's pretty cool. As your host, Jim Masters, says, I toast to you and 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 you. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. We're okay. Everything's safe and sound here. Just a little cool, green tea. That's all tonight. Going light. We'll save the hot and heavy stuff for the weekend. Of course, we always go lights, camera, action. Again, we go Hollywood. We go big time on the Jim Master Show Live. We're pulling out all of my TV background and resources. So we go lights, camera, action. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show. And we're all set, ready to go. Your favorites are here too. I know you guys love the cast of characters that we have. So yeah, I know you're looking for him. Don't worry, he's here. There's George Burns. George Burns says hello to all of you. He's got his cigar. He's ready to go. He's got his red hanky. And he was very in love with Gracie, as you know. So that was a wonderful relationship between the two of them. That's a good testament to relationship. And through thick and thin, George Burns and Gracie Allen. And of course, I know a lot of you, our guest last night, Keith Pachel. If you didn't see that episode, you can go back. All of the episodes of our series are archived at Jim Masters TV. You just go to Jim Masters TV on YouTube, and you see 13 weeks of phenomenal guests and episodes and levity and fun. But he mentioned that he had a crush. He was, he's a brilliant composer and producer. And he saw that I had the I, Jimmy Genie bottle and I had the lid on it. We took it off. And he said that he had loved Barbara Eden when he was a kid. So I said, well, she's in there. Just wish her well. And that was funny. So Jeannie's in there. She says hello as well. Again, we did a TV nostalgic week a couple of weeks ago. Everybody loved it. And they've asked for me to keep these characters on the show. So they're here. Again, with everything we've been going through, what the heck, right? Have some fun. Have some levity. And of course, Silver is here. Silver says hello. Silver greets all of you. We got this on a TV shoot while in Europe from Switzerland. Very good K9. Takes care of things here, makes sure everything is under control. Sort of like an associate producer, I would say. And then your other friend, Jimmy, is here as well. I know you guys love Jimmy. So Jimmy is here. He's a happy clown. If you're afraid of clowns, no need to worry about Jimmy. Jimmy is a happy clown and a childhood toy as well. So, and very preserved well, too, wouldn't you say? He's here. He may fill in for me if I'm ever on vacation. Maybe we'll have Jimmy fill in. So hope you guys are doing well. How is everybody? We always love to greet our audience, before we get going with everything. Looks like everybody's doing well. I see a lot of comments here. And again, it's all about relationships tonight with our very special guest, Rick Soetebier. And somebody had asked, is that a Dutch name? And yes, it is. Yes, it is. So good to see everybody here live. And Renee in Iowa says this will be an interesting show. You got it. It sure will be. If you have some great comments or questions, feel free to let us know. And Ricky's here to answer them. Good to see you in Iowa. Nice evening with your friends. Good to see you, Willie, there in Holland, in the Netherlands. Of course, we always show you this since you stay up late. There's the Dutch tulips. And you make sure you're here with us every night on the show. And that is awesome. Good to see you, Willie. Crystal in Connecticut. Hi, Jim and everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day. 2 years ago on this date. Wow, that's right. Has it been that long already? I cannot believe it. Hi, Jim and everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic 2 years ago on this date. You met me at the Chicago concert when I was emceeing the Chicago concert for public television for PBS. And that was at the Oakdale Theater in Wallingford, Connecticut. You remember that well. And that was a fabulous meeting to meet you there. Everybody's saying hello to everybody. Nice to see you as well, Merlin. Hope you have some questions for our guest. If not, just sit back and take notes. It's going to be a terrific show talking about romance, love, dating, relationships, and all kinds of cool things with the expert tonight. As I told you, this show is something for everybody. It's an entertainment lifestyle talk show series. So it's not the same thing every night. It's different. It's like a talk show series from maybe the past a little bit where they had all kinds of different guests and fun segments and so much more. And so really good to see you there in North Carolina. And I'm glad that you are well. Hello to you as well again, Renee. And Merlin is saying hello to everybody. There's the tulips. And Avril is watching in Hampshire in the United Kingdom. Very hot Hampshire day. Hope you had a good day. And everyone else on the show watching us in Europe and Great Britain. Good to see you, Avril. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we thank you very much for being a part of the show today. And I hope everything's going well. And hopefully things cool off for you there in Europe. In United Kingdom. Hi, Kathleen. Good to see you as well. Hope all is well with you. Hi, everybody. Looking good in that photo there. That's when I had you on the show as viewer of the week. Renee's getting a bonus week. She's getting 2 weeks as viewer of the week this week. we're going to do a new viewer of the week this coming weekend. Willie with her glasses and Christopher. And Christopher, if you have any relationship questions, the expert is here to help. Rick is here. He knows his stuff. Hola, Jimbo. Good to see you in Ohio. Jennifer's here once again. Jen, you're going to be very zen. I know you always say Jen is zen. Well, you're going to be ultra zen with this episode with our fantastic guest, relationship expert and coach, Rick Soetebier. So good to see you, Jennifer. Danilo, any questions you have about love and relationships? Just pile it on. We've got the expert here. Good evening, Lovities. Yes, that's our word for our viewers, Lovities. Great to see you again, Mr. Lovity. Good to see you in San Diego, California. It's in the mid-70s there in Northwest Ohio. Christine Clifton, greetings to you and all from a double Lovity. Wow, that's two. Love that. You notice we got the red graphic in honor of love, and we got it red on the screen there, and cool stuff. From Brazil, Carla, it's Thursday and it's 8 p.m. where you are. So that's a very good time to be watching. So now I know that it's when we're on at 7 p.m. here. That's right, because you're just below us. You're right in South America. You're like straight line down from North America. So 8 p.m. in Brazil, 7 p.m. Eastern here, 4 p.m. Pacific. So that's a very good time to be here, 8 p.m. for you. And usually we see you on the weekend, but you've been here a couple of times this week. Good to see you in Brazil. Carla, we welcome you. And there you are right there. Hello, it's Thursday, 8 p.m. time for Jim Masters TV show. Thank you, Carla. Good to have you with us. And welcome once again from Brazil. We have such a worldwide audience, and everybody's toasting. Everybody toasts as well. Greetings to Willie's Masters family here. All the great comments. And again, keep spreading the word, telling everybody that you're here. Philip Zipkin Day from New Hope, Pennsylvania. Love the name of that town. Good to see you, Philip. Welcome to the show, Phil. And I see all these great comments coming in. Hello, Lovity. Hi, Jim. Hey, Phil. Good to see you and the family. Good stuff, gang. All right, we're going to dive right in. Good to see that everybody's here. And again, more people usually pop in during the course of the show. We always have a lot of people that watch the show in the archives as well later on. So good to have you here on our broadcast. And it's also good to have our very special guest here. So we're going to talk about love and romance, relationships, friendships, everything to do with relationships here tonight for you exclusively with the expert Rick on the show. So if you have questions, feel free, you can jot them down. Don't worry. No question is crazy. No question is, nutty. There he is. There's our very special guest, Rick. And oh, yes. Remember, Double Lovity was one using both YouTube and Facebook. You're watching YouTube and Facebook at Jim Masters TV to watch the show. That is Double Lovity. And Willie says, welcome, Rick, as well. And you wish both of your kids could find someone to spend their lives with. Okay. Well, Rick is here, and let us know, your background of your kids and where are they and what do they do for a living? What's the background? And Rick's here. Maybe he can help. Now, he's lived life himself. After a relationship and marriage of 25 years, Rick found himself divorced and wondered what was next. He quickly returned to the world of dating and found out that it had really changed dramatically since his last date. It took him a couple of years to start figuring things out. Rick took his 21 years of experience as a financial advisor and over 35 years of studying self and relationship improvement, and he co-authored the book Dating Backward. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Soon after they started writing Dating Backward, he retired from the financial services industry, and his focus turned from helping people plan their finances to helping singles make better decisions about the people they date and the relationships they enter into. Over time, he learned that there are no magic formulas, tricks, or schemes that can win the heart of the one you love. Instead, it's understanding what you want and need in a relationship. It's about knowing what to look for and what to avoid. In its simplest terms, he helps make dating better. and better dating and relationship choices happen by showing you how to create clarity about what you want and need in your relationship. He helps you hone your communication skills to be able to talk with your partner on a deeper and more meaningful level. With these skills, you'll be able to develop much stronger relationship connections. Again, he's spent 20 years as a financial advisor helping people make very tough and emotional financial decisions, but part of his success came from being able to help his clients step back from the emotions of decision making so they can really look at relevant facts. The same approach applies virtually to all of your important decisions, including relationships. Really incredible. He really thoroughly enjoys his work. He came from a broken home. So he says, like many folks, his parents got divorced when he was about 12 years old. He lived with his mom, worked for his dad in his bakery. But unlike many kids, he had both parents that were involved in his life, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and gave him a strong work ethic as well. We're going to talk about his background and his amazing and practical approach. Dating Backward, the book, is a practical guide to dating and finding your soulmate. We're going to talk about that as well. It's a tremendous guide that covers many of the basics that most people overlook when they re-enter the dating world and dive into new relationships. Again, he does consultations, personal coaching as well. You do even a free 30-minute consultation. Just mention the Jim Masters Show Live. Free 30-minute consultation as well, and so much more. We're very excited to have him here on the show, our very special guest, Rick Soetebier, and it's a pleasure to have him here. When we have an opportunity to have great guests like this, we have a lot of fun. So get those questions going, everybody. I know you're going to be taking notes. Rick, welcome to the show. It's good to have you with us today.
Thanks, Jim. It's great to be here.
Welcome. So how are things going for you today with all the craziness that's going on in the world these days?
Life is just not normal anymore. And you try to have some sense of normal by doing some of the normal things, but
normal anymore.
I know, right? It's difficult to know what's normal. So you just got to kind of feel your way through it and see where you end up.
See where you end up. Exactly. It's a good outlook, and you got to be positive and keep the ball rolling and the creative juices flowing and moving forward in life, which is really important, right, Rick?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a positive mental attitude is so important to every aspect of life, whether it's work or dating or relationships or friendships or family. We as humans, we just naturally gravitate to negative, and you get sucked into this black hole of negativity. And it's so easy to go down that hole, but it's so hard to claw your way back up. So, it takes time. And I found myself going down that black hole earlier this year. With the quarantines and face masks and everything else that's going on. But then I had my daughter made comments, says, "Boy, aren't you the negative one today?" And it was kind of slap upside the head, and it's like, yeah, I guess I am. And it took a couple of weeks to get myself out of it, but we're just and now I'm just like the song says, I just have this peaceful, easy feeling. I'm not worrying about much. And here we go.
Absolutely. Let's go back in time to your youth when, when you were a kid. Were you always trying to figure things out? Were you always studying relationships? Obviously, with the parents and the family dynamic that you had, you really grew up pretty quickly with some of the things that you witnessed and experienced, still surrounded by the love and the attention and the support of loving parents and family as well. How did all of that in the early years of the things you've seen and experienced influence the work that you do today, Rick?
Well, with my parents getting divorced, it is as nice as it was to have my dad and my mom in close proximity, and being able to see both of them every day. It was a very dysfunctional family, a very dysfunctional life growing up. One of the stories that I tell is that I grew up from probably about 5 or 6 years old to age 52. My dad called me stupid and an idiot. And hey, Marilyn, thanks for joining in today. Good to see you. And so it's, it took me a long time to work through that. But early on in my 20s, I started studying self-improvement, and it started with business, because I was always I've been in sales for over 40 years in some way, shape, or form. And it started to it started to morph from learning how to be a better salesman, how to close sales, to how to be a better man, a better husband, and a better father. And even during my years as a financial advisor, I found that I was just drawn to the subject of self-improvement, self-relationship improvement, much more so than I was to financial planning and being a student of that business. Don't misunderstand me. I did all of the studying and all of the work for the CFP designation, and it was, it was just interesting, always interesting to me, that I always gravitated back to relationships and coaching and that type of thing. But back in my earlier years, I don't want my dysfunctional story to sound like I didn't have any good times during my childhood. I had some great times. I grew up sailing on Lake Superior, and right now, for the last 3 years, this is the 4th season, I've spent the summers up in northern Michigan, northern Wisconsin, restoring my dad's sailboat. Nice. This is the boat I grew up sailing on, and so it's got a lot of sentimental value.
Is that what you're on right now?
Pardon me?
Are you on that boat now?
No, I'm actually in my office. I have a couple of pieces of small commercial real estate up here, but the sign behind me was Captain Jack. That was my father's business, and that's after he sold it. We kept some of the signage and some of the things around the building, and after he passed, my sister and brother-in-law and I put that sign up in the background because this was an office. And when I inherited this property, I just left it. It's kind of cool.
It is. Yeah, it's fantastic. So again, those influences were there for you, that led you to first going into being a financial advisor, right? Tell us about that juncture first.
Well, and that was shortly after I left the family business. My dad and I butted heads, and as fathers and sons usually do in business, or many times will do in business. And we moved down to Springfield, Missouri. My ex got a job with IDS, which is now Ameriprise Financial. I spent 20 years with them, and I got introduced to the people that work there at the district manager's summer pool party. And I looked around the pool and talked to the guys and some of the ladies that were working there, and I said, yeah, I can do this. And I did. So I got the licenses and went into that business and loved it. Spent 20 years taking care of people, and it was so satisfying, helping people make decisions, helping people understand the ins and outs of their finances, and it was fun and challenging until the last couple of years, and then I just lost my passion for it. And that's when a friend of mine, Penny, asked, we were talking about my lack of motivation in that business, and she said, well, what is your passion? And after a couple of days, it was about a week or 10 days of thinking about it, I laid out the premise started laying out the premise for a book, because I was recently divorced. She was recently divorced, and we were recognizing that there was almost no information on how to find a great relationship or how to avoid the mistakes of settling as you start dating and getting into relationships. There was all kinds of information on how to fix broken relationships, but none per se on the techniques or the things that you need to do to find that right relationship up front. And I contend that if you do the hard work up front, that you will find the right one. And you will find your soulmate. I'm a big believer in soulmates. If you don't believe in soulmates, or if the audience doesn't believe in soulmates, that's okay. I use extraordinary relationship interchangeably with soulmates. So for some people, extraordinary relationship is easier to follow. So, but with that conversation, I was laying out the premise. She started throwing good ideas back at me, and I said, "Why don't you help me write the book?" She stopped and said, "Okay." And a couple of days later, we had a working outline, and we were off to the races. And so,
and that's dating backwards.
Dating backwards, yeah. And the title actually has a couple of different meanings. The first meaning is that most people start. Very good, thank you. Most people start dating backwards and what I mean by that is they start dating without being crystal clear about what they want in a relationship. They come out of one relationship, and probably 95% of people that I talk to can tell me what they don't want.
Right.
And if you know just even the littlest bit of psychology, you know that when you focus on the negative, that's what you're going to find. And so what I try to help people do is spin those things around and start looking for the positive things, the things that they do want in a relationship, and then help them gain focus and clarity on what they're looking for, so that they don't make the mistake of just dating randomly or haphazardly. You date with intention, with focus. So.
And that's very important. Yeah. Focus and with intention. Is that a mistake that many of us make, that we don't date with focus or intention? Is it sometimes it's just this immediate, almost lustful attraction in the beginning, or we already have this sort of fantastical Pollyanna Hollywood TV show version of the king or the queen, or as far as who that perfect person is, and we're waiting for that perfect dreamboat to come out of a Hollywood movie or a romance novel or whatever it is. Sometimes the expectations are way beyond reality.
Well, I personally believe you can have everything you want in a relationship. What I do caution against are some of the things that you talk about, the Hollywood romance, the romance novel type relationships. None of us have that Hollywood scriptwriter or that novelist behind us to give us the perfect lines. Life gets messy, and those, we can't fall for that type of relationship. But I firmly believe, and I've experienced it a couple of times myself, and I watch my clients as they move into extraordinary relationships, that you can have everything that you want in a relationship. We watch all of our advertising on TV and radio, and they always tell us we deserve this, we deserve that, until it comes to relationships, and then their friends and family start telling us you're too picky.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? We can have everything we want, or we're too picky. And I always tell my clients, you can never be too picky. However, the longer your must-have list and your must-have list is, the more difficult it is to find that needle in a haystack. And we're all looking for that needle in a haystack relationship. It's just that simple. And what I notice most is comments from people is they want to be able to date 3 or 4 or 5 people and be done. It's just not that simple unless you get really, really lucky. And most of us are never that lucky. And when you do a deep dive into the numbers, probably only 10 to 15% of all marriages that last are happy, normal, extraordinary soulmate type relationships. The rest of us have settled. And I can go back to the first 30 days, and I'm not bashing my ex, but I can go back to the first 30 days that I was with her and recognize the red flags. And that I can see that, and I've seen time and time again that when you're paying attention to what's going on around you, you step back from the infatuation and the raging hormones of a new relationship, you can identify a lot of the red flags or the warning signs that you have in relationships.
And what would be some of those red signs that you really need to pay attention to?
Well, and they're different for everybody because everybody has their own personal likes and wants and needs.
Right.
But there are some basics that you really need to pay attention to. How they treat other people. When you see somebody being mean or nasty or treating others poorly, like waiters, waitresses,
Like they're second class people. And
exactly, when they should be treating everybody with dignity and respect. Everybody deserves that. And you'd be surprised when you do that, the level of your service goes up dramatically.
Yeah. Suddenly that steak tastes better.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But they're looking at things like codependency, and one of those might be, and this is more common of ladies, but I had an email conversation with a gentleman this morning about this thing. He lost his wife about 6 months ago, and he's already been dating somebody for 3 months, and he was asking me, if he's compromising his values, and I said, yeah, let her go. She deserves extraordinary just like you do, and you can't give that to her. But my point there is he in our conversation, I discovered that he was jumping from relationship to relationship to relationship. He'd been married several times, which leads, and it wasn't specific, but I'm guessing it was in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 times.
So were these constant rebounding?
Yeah, and that's a bit of a sign of codependency. And I suggested that he actually seek counseling to determine why he can't spend time alone. And I firmly believe that when we end one relationship, we have to take some time to heal and grieve and grow. I just look at myself when I got divorced. When I got divorced, I thought, 9 months, I'll be with my soulmate, and boom, we're off. We're going to live happily ever after. Well, I'm 10 years into divorce now. And it was a couple of years into divorce, I started recognizing that as you're swiping right or scrolling through profiles on online dating sites, is this, I'm thinking, man, I'm a catch for any one of these women. And then as I'm scrolling, it says, wait, no, I'm not, because I'm scrolling through them like they're scrolling through me. It's a matter of finding that one person. And I've met some great women online that I'll be friends with forever. But they just aren't the right one for me, for any number of reasons. And we all have to be that picky. We can't just settle, because then we end up in a relationship. Like my marriage, 10 years before my divorce, I had come to the realization that I'm going to be in a mediocre marriage for the rest of my life. And I'm not trying to demean or bash my ex. We both had issues. We both contributed to the problems of that relationship. And so consequently, I have to accept my role in why that marriage didn't work. And I have to change and correct myself and make me a better man for the next relationship. And that's part of why I enjoy um, uh, this relationship and self-improvement so much, because it's everything that everything that I've learned about me applies to everybody else, but it's continually making me a better man, or at least I hope it is.
Christine says, it's fun and games until you get married, LOL.
Well, Christine, if in 85% of marriages, that's exactly right. But what I try to share and what I try to teach people is, number one, get yourself emotionally healthy. And before you really start dating seriously, it doesn't mean that you can't date after a divorce or after being widowed, but you don't want to get serious. Just date people to meet, in Christine's case, meet guys and discover characteristics that are traits that you really like and really want in your next relationship. And that's one of the big things about dating, just dating casually, is there's no commitment. You get to recognize some of the finer qualities in people, and you get to see some of the negative qualities and the things that might go on your deal breaker list. And from there, once you get yourself healthy, and when I say healthy, I'm talking about, you're not thinking about your ex, you're not berating your ex, you're not bitter about the opposite sex. You'd be surprised at how many of these comments I get and how many I hear, and it's always stop. Go back and start taking care of yourself emotionally. And then one of the other things is to oh God, that was a brain fart. I just had a thought and it just went poof.
There's a couple of great comments here. Like Spisso says, be the best version of yourself. Would you date you?
Absolutely. That's the key right there. Would you love to date yourself? And that's exactly right. You have to put yourself in that position where you'd enjoy being with you. And again, that's part of getting healthy, and being able to move on and in date in healthy ways. Then understanding what you want in a relationship, what you don't want in a relationship, and understanding what you bring to the table. Those are all key exercises that we need to do before we really get into the world of dating too seriously.
Mm-hmm. And that's really, really important to think about that and to apply it in our own lives. Renee in Iowa says, no marriage is perfect. When you put two people together with different opinions, views, there will be clashes, of course.
And Renee, that's right. But and that's why I say that we need to do more work up front. I firmly believe that the more things you have in common, the stronger your relationship will be. And I talk mostly about being crystal clear about what you want in a relationship, your must-have list, and knowing what you don't want. But we also have to, and that's just a first step. You've got to develop an intellectual, a spiritual, an emotional, and a physical connection. And when I say physical, everybody says, "Oh, I think, oh yeah, sex is always great." But there's also the eye appeal to your mate, and beauty is subjective, and it's in the eye of the beholder. What I view beautiful is going to be different than what you, Jim, what you think is beautiful. And what the ladies are gonna think, well, Jim's a hottie, or and Rick, oh God, he's the beast, So everybody's opinion is different. So but
no, I don't think I could beg to differ on any of those things.
Not at all. And so, but the second part of the physical is,
and that makes me think of, people love, one of the first things, and you'll probably agree to this right away, when people are asked what they want most, And I think the survey I saw recently this week was the women were asked. They really want somebody with a sense of humor.
Yes. Yeah, when I'm looking at profiles and helping people write their profiles, that's one of the things that most women want. So guys, if you're listening, learn how to tell a joke, learn how to be funny. But it doesn't mean it has to be contrived, but be yourself. And I think most of the time when we're trying to be funny, it doesn't work. Leave the comedy, the professional comedy to the comedians. Most of us, if we can tell a joke or we can tell a funny story, that's the best that we're going to do. And that's part of developing the intellectual connection. I believe that you got to be able to talk about anything and everything. If you're in a relationship, and my ex and I had this, that we couldn't talk about certain subjects. And consequently, there were a lot of things that a lot of conversations we couldn't have. And I felt many times that I'm walking on eggshells, because if I say something, I'm damned. And if I don't say something, I'm damned. And then developing a spiritual connection. It's important to be on the same page. And I don't care whether you're Christian or Muslim or Jewish or agnostic or atheist. You need to be on the same page, because you'd be surprised how many, and this is especially true for women, how many women come to me and say they want a man in their life that will lead spiritually, as somebody to go to church with. And guys, we drive me crazy, because they start out and they start out saying, yeah, I'll go to church, and what they're doing is they're trying to win her heart. But sort of shortly after they win her heart, then it's, I'm going to go fishing this weekend.
Right.
And pretty soon, and within 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, they're not going to church together.
It's all done, right?
Yeah. And so, and then there's the emotional connection. And the emotional connection, we talk about it as love, but that emotional connection is something much deeper. We use the term love so loosely, but when you're with your soulmate, when you're with that extraordinary partner, you develop a connection that is so deep, and it touches your soul like no one else has ever touched your soul before. And it's just, they're the first ones you want to wake up to. They're the last ones you want to see at night. They're the first ones you want to come home to. And it's a feeling, it's an emotion that literally, for me at least, it defies description, but it just touches you so deeply. And that's the magic sauce, so to speak, that brings everything together. But and I think it was Renee. Life is going to happen, and it's going to put stresses on the relationship, and it's when you're with your soulmate or with that extraordinary partner, you tend to enhance each other. Right. You bring more to each other. And this is one thing that every extraordinary couple or every couple that says that they're with their soulmate have told me literally the same thing, almost verbatim, is their mate has brought more to the table than they ever could have imagined. And so when we go back to the conversation about you're too picky, I believe that you can never be too picky. You have to know what you want, to be crystal clear about it, and then keep looking. And when you find that, you will see some amazing things happen. And again, there are so many moving parts. I also believe that you need to speak similar love languages. I just experienced a conversation, about 5 weeks of conversation with a woman. And she said one of her primary love languages is gifts. And I told her right up front, gifts are not my thing. And if you know about love languages, we all speak them to a certain extent, but she was excuse my language, she was pissed that I didn't send her a birthday card. And number one, we hadn't even met yet, and my daughter and her family are the only ones on that list. At Christmas, my best friends of 40 years don't even get a Christmas card from me. But Jim,
you learned that lesson.
No, I was upfront with her, and the idea is that if you find somebody that speaks similar love languages, that life is so much easier. And that was one of the problems my ex and I had. One of her love languages was gift, and it was like, oh, I in my seminars, I tell the story of me walking down the street when I was a kid and I can hear the snow crunching under my feet. And I'm looking in the store windows, just struggling, trying to figure out what to get my mom for Christmas. And it was sheer torture because she said, well, whatever you get me is fine. It's just like, oh no, don't do that to me. And now it's, 40 years later, I understand why I was having such a problem, because gifts are not my language. And, we can, to a certain extent, learn that language, but for me, it's like pulling teeth. Just tell me what you want. I'll take you anywhere. I'll write you a check.
So when they don't tell you what they want, what is actually happening? Do they want you to surprise them? Or is it that you're supposed to know them so well, you automatically get that ultimate gift that you are supposed to know that they wanted? Or...
Well, for gift givers, yeah, gift givers are just unique in that they can figure out the ideal gift to give, and they put and most of them, they don't have to even put a lot of thought into it. They're just naturally good at it. For me, I struggle. I can live with you for 20 years and still get you the wrong thing. It's just and I try not to be oblivious, but there are things that are higher up on my scale, or that are more prominent on my radar, so to speak.
I thought I told you I wanted that pearl necklace, not the golf clubs.
It reminds me of the year that my ex got me a trivet and I got her a sander. So she got the trivet she wanted. I got the sander I wanted.
And that's it. That's perfection.
We learned to work around things a little bit.
Karen Levitt, who's up in New Hampshire, who just got her power restored. They got hit up there with a tropical storm as well. How does one date during COVID?
Well, Karen, that's a great question. Thanks for asking it. There are obviously some difficulties, and it really depends on where you're at, because every state's rules, every county's rules are different. Right now I'm in northern Michigan, northern Missouri, or northern Wisconsin, and Michigan is supposedly a little more strict than Wisconsin, but yeah, I don't know. It probably the easiest way right now, and in Kansas City, in the Kansas City metro area, on the Kansas side, the rules for going out and being social are a little less restrictive than they are in the Kansas City, Missouri side. So, I mean, I have a meetup group, and we'll get 40 or 50 people together on a monthly basis. And then, everybody does their thing. If they want to social distance, they can social distance. If they want to be sitting right next to somebody and have a personal conversation, they can do that. If they want to wear a mask, they can. If they don't have to. And I know, if any of you from Kansas, I know that there are more specific rules than that, but that's generally the way things come together. As far as how to date, again, it depends on your area. But online dating is a great resource to meet people right now. If there are social groups that are meeting in 10 or 15 in groups of 10 or 15, check out Meetup. meetup.com, and with a backslash to wherever you are. And especially if you're in a larger city, Karen, there may be groups that you might be interested in, and you make it try to find some singles groups and see what they're doing, hiking groups, kayaking, social groups, whatever it is. Those are great ways. Social media is a great way of developing connections. Facebook has a dating app, and you can do some meet some people that are not in your circle of friends and not friends of friends, and get to know people that way. And then just your social media circles. I don't know about Karen. I don't know about you, but we all have friends that we've got, or people that have friend requested us, and we've said yes for whatever reason. But you can start to interact with some of those folks, and I've met some really, really great people. And one of them has become a very dear friend, and that's just this year. And her name is Tammy, and we are like-minded. We're both coaching people, and so we have some very interesting conversations, and we toss things back and forth on how do we do this, how do we do that, and just like I'm going to pick your brain after the show about how are you doing all these graphics, yeah, so I'm learning. So, but you're the master.
The gym masters, right?
The gym master. That's right. But
Somebody asked about Zoom dates. That's a whole other area. Christine actually asked about Zoom dates.
Yeah, Christine, that's a great way. There's FaceTime, there's Zoom, there's Skype, and there's so many good ways of connecting. And I like a face-to-face, conversation that, since we can't necessarily be in close proximity, it's so much nicer to see a face or put a face and a voice together, as opposed to texting or even phone calls. You so much of the context of the conversation can be lost. Number one, by texting. I think some of the statistics are that you only get 7% of the context of a conversation through texting. So, 93% of the conversation is lost. So, if you can.
I have a friend whose girlfriend, when I worked for iHeartRadio doing a show, a friend came in. He was actually one of the producers of the show that I was doing, and he came in with his head down, and we're all like, "Hey, Tim, what's the problem?" He says, "You know what? Remember the girl that I was dating for 3 years, and we were having all this fun and everything? She just broke up with me." We're like, "Oh, that's too bad. What happened?" He goes, "She just sent me a text and said, I don't want to date anymore. She did it via text. No coffee, no cheesecake, no nothing. Just that's changed everything too. The coldness of people using, just like people go online sometimes and they can post horrific things, but be anonymous in just everyday conversation. Yeah. But sometimes when it comes to relationships or dating or what have you, they're using the crutch of the devices and Twitter and texting or whatever to actually break up with people or say horrific things. That could be tough.
Oh, absolutely. And I've had that happen to me, and I always, if you can't do it in person, do it by phone. And text should be the last of the options you choose. That and with all due respect to everybody in the audience, there may be some reasons to break it up by text if it's a violent relationship or an abusive relationship. That might be an appropriate way, but for just a traditional or normal relationship where you're just tired and you're recognizing that there's not a great connection, at least do it by phone. Give your partner the courtesy or the respect of a phone call or coffee or cheesecake, and say, yeah, listen, Rick, this just isn't working, or Christine, this just isn't working for me. I just don't feel a connection, and that's really all you have to say. I wish you all the best, and move on. And and what we try to do, and a lot of it has to do with human nature. We try to get clarity. We want to know why. Why isn't it working? What did I do? What, if there's something that you're habitually doing, yeah, it's good to know that. But a lot of times there just isn't a why. There just isn't an answer. And you're not going to get that clarity. So sometimes, as heartbreaking as it is, sometimes you just have to push through and say, okay, I'll never know why. That was their decision, and you move on.
Yeah, that is what you have to do. And because again, you never know. There might be somebody out there who's a much better match. Sficio Chiambusi, shout out from the third world. We have folks in the third world that are watching us here. I tell you,
Awesome.
we have a real international audience. Good to see you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Know your deep breakers, probably meaning deal breakers. I guess you got to know those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that will save you so much time, is knowing what your deal breakers are, and even your must-have list. And I tell my clients that your deal breaker list should be relatively short. I can tell you I have 3: cats, tats, and porn. Cats, tattoos, and porn. Those 3, if any of those 3 come up, we're done. It's just, and it's nothing against tattoos, nothing against cats. If you're into porn, great. I'm not into it. So just keep those simple. And if you have this long list of deal breakers, go through and start figuring out how to flip those over to must-haves. And I was dating a gal, and we were just, we just had this chemistry, and we had only been dating for a week, but we're still great friends. We were going through our must-have list, and I got to the end of my must-have list, and it was must be smoke-free. So rather than no smoker, I was focusing on the positive, must be smoke-free. And she looked at me and said, "What kind of smoke?" And we both then and there knew it was it was over, because I'm just not into recreational drugs, or
You
whatever.
even have the sign right behind you. No smoking
Yeah,
allowed.
exactly. Yeah.
A subtle little hint in case
Yeah, there
anybody's
you go. No
watching.
smoking. So, I mean, and my point there is if you don't want to date a smoker, say something like must be smoke free. If you don't want a couch potato, or somebody that lays on the couch all weekend and watches sports, say must be physically active, as opposed to no couch potatoes. Because again, going back to the very beginning of our conversation, psychologically, when you say, I won't date a smoker, what's the first picture that comes to your mind? It's a person smoking.
Right.
So when you say must be smoke free, you have a picture of somebody that's not smoking. So that's why it's so important that your must-have list be written out in a positive format. And that way you can, as you're dating, you can start checking things off mentally. And if any of your deal breakers pop up, say, no, I'm out. I'm sorry. This is a deal breaker. And you move on from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So you set ground rules in the beginning, sort of, you sort of say, look,
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to lead anybody on. I don't want to get into a relationship and 6 months down the road find out they've got a cat, or they're into pornography, or they've got tattoos that and don't misunderstand me. Some of the artwork is just absolutely amazing. It's just not something that I particularly care to have on my mate. And these days, that's becoming harder and harder to find, because everybody seems to be into tattoos these days. But the point is, when you have your deal breaker list, yeah, if you see anything, you can say, yeah, you're a great guy. but it's just not going to work for me because this is a deal breaker for me. And it doesn't make them a bad person.
Right,
It just means they're not the right ones for you.
That's the right one for you. What if you have what if you have a situation where the person says, well, if you love me, you have to love my mother too?
Well,
if the mother says, in order to love my son or my daughter, you have to love me too.
Well, that's and there has to be some respect there, because she's going to be part of the deal. You can't separate mom from daughter. You can't separate the woman you're dating or the man you're dating from his or her family. And now you can look at the family and say, is this a healthy relationship? A woman I worked with several years ago had a problem with her husband who just kowtowed to his mother and literally never broke the strings, or the apron strings. And every Sunday they were over at mom's house for Sunday dinner. For holidays they were at mom's house for dinner, for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, whatever it was. And her family got neglected. And so that put a huge strain on that marriage. So when you're dating somebody, you have to look at the parents, you have to look at the family, you have to look at the kids, you have to look at the exes. Especially if there are younger children involved, you have to expect the ex to be involved in your life in one way, shape, or form. And that can be a huge issue. And then you're dealing with ex-in-laws, with younger children. And so there are so many moving parts to creating a blended family. So it can be really difficult, but when you find the right person, you find the way to make it all work.
Which is the key. That's you want to. What about sometimes you have situations where the person says, well, I'm attracted to this person. This person seems to have everything that I've been looking for. There's a certain attraction that's there, and the person seems funny and kind and everything. But there's a few things that individual thinks that they can tweak about that other person. They could say, well, I love all this, but I'm not fond of these things that he or she does. So once they get around me, I'll be able to mold them. I'll get them to stop doing that. I'll get them to no longer think that way. I'm going to work on them, and my wonderful aura is just going to win them over to my side. And because I'm so fabulous, they're going to follow my way, and they're going to stop doing that and stop doing that. And stop. You can't mold anybody, right?
No, I'm just sitting here chuckling because so many people try to do that. Mostly women, but there are guys out there that try to do that too. And it is just don't do it. Don't even waste your time. And that's where most of us slip up. We get hooked on this little bucket of great stuff. But then you got this pile of crap over here that we have to deal with. But I don't want to give this up. But you got to take this. It's a package deal. You can't change anybody. Wait for somebody that has that whole big barrel of everything you're looking for. And again, like I said earlier, you're looking for that needle in a haystack relationship. And when you're looking for that one special person, and I guarantee you they will come along, but it just takes time, and you have to be patient. You have to be focused and intentional on finding that extraordinary relationship. And so many of us get into relationships just because we're lonely. We don't want to be alone, and consequently, we do fall for somebody that has that bucket of good stuff, but it's the crap that drives us crazy. And it's like the church example. He's going to church with me, and he even though he's not a Christian, he's not been baptized, he's not whatever it is. And I use Christianity because I'm a Christian. But if you're Jewish, it's Muslim, it's the same thing. If they're not that way to begin with, you can't change them. I mean, there are examples that you can bring them into the church and they'll accept it and embrace it. But more often than not, they're going to find reasons to not be involved with church or whatever it is. So don't, ladies, and with all due respect, this is on you mostly. And like I said, there are guys out there that do this too, but ladies, don't try to change him. If he doesn't have everything on your must-have list or has any of your deal breakers, or you see things that you don't like, move on. Don't waste your time. We're given just a finite time on this earth, and I always suggest that you spend more time looking up front than trying to fix the broken pieces on the back end. You're going to be beating your head against the wall.
I've heard some report where they said we spend sometimes more time trying to find the right car than we do the person that's going to be, enriching our lives. And the second thing is we spend more time on a car and worrying about all the features of the car than we do even on our own health sometimes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a financial advisor, I used a similar, more people spent more time planning a vacation than they did for retirement. And I find the same thing is true, with dating and relationships. People spend more time planning a vacation. More people spend more time looking for that perfect car, or that perfect deal on the car. And, it just takes time. When it comes to online dating, I see so many garbage profiles out there. When you're online, if you've got an online profile, what you're doing is you're submitting an application for a lifetime position in someone's life. You want to find someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with, and to slap up a couple of, crappy pictures and, the remarks that I always just roll my eyes at, under the description that you're, oh gosh, and I'm just drawing a blank right now, but the profile, when you're writing your profile, when you're writing your little essay, I'll fill this in later or more later. And they put in a few stats, and that's it. That doesn't tell me anything about you. A good profile should have a headshot, from here, as your primary picture. Then you should have a full body shot, because let's face it, none of us are perfect. And you're going to get found out anyway, when you meet someone.
And we're living in the world of filters and heavy Photoshop too.
Oh, yeah. Come on, don't, and I think it's more and I'm not familiar with Instagram, but I think Instagram has a lot of filters that, and especially a lot of the ladies that I see on Facebook that swap those pictures over or transfer those pictures over. It's like, yeah, really? What for? That's fun. Come on, be real. Who are you? And the same thing with your online profile, and then show a couple of things show you doing a couple of things you like to do. If you like to bike, be posed next to your bike in your bike clothes. If you like to play tennis, get in your tennis outfit and by the tennis court. If you like, lady.
You said the bike and the bike. You're saying maybe something like that?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's perfect.
We've got everything at the Jim Masters Show.
Yeah, there you go. That's excellent.
Or if you love the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the one thing I'll say about that, Jim, is especially, and I don't get to see a lot of guys' profiles, but the ladies, they'll show just a picture of the ocean. No picture. They're not in the picture. Show
what I think is the best.
What's that?
Is when you show yourself as a child.
Yeah. that's great for
Sesame Street.
Yeah, somewhere down the road. You're getting to know each other, but for your online profile,
you got to have today. What's today, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't, I don't want to have anyone put the pictures up that are 10 years old. Now, ladies, a lot of you are going to understand this, because so many of you complain about guys with, holding up their prize catch, their big bass. Ladies, I got to tell you something. You complain about those pictures, but you'd be surprised how many ladies have the same picture on their profile. It's not
Really.
So,
Wow.
yeah. And I thought, initially I was thinking, guys, don't show your big catch of the day. No, do, because that's something you enjoy doing. That's part of who you are. You might see a picture of me skiing, or up on the ski hill. That's what I enjoy doing. So you just have to take time and do a good job. Don't this, because you're creating a resume to apply for a position in somebody's life for the rest of your life and for the rest of theirs.
That's right. That's very important. Absolutely. And if you folks have questions, we're live right now. Our very special guest is relationship coach and expert, author and speaker, Rick Soetebier. He is here. He's been doing this for many, many years. And any questions you got, shoot. They are right here, right now. Our free on-air consultation is happening, and some great advice as well. Karen says, the elusive spark is crucial and not so easy to find out there in someone. The elusive spark.
Karen, that's absolutely correct. It's that chemistry, and it kind of goes back to what I said earlier about that connection. It's and we have to be careful not to confuse infatuation and raging hormones with that spark or that chemistry. They're two totally different things. The infatuation is what gives you the tingles and the butterflies, and that eventually wears off. And studies show that it will last up to about 2 years. A couple of studies vary a little bit, but about 2 years is the length of it. If you've done any amount of dating, the infatuation wears off pretty quickly. So you just have to be aware, and I go back and because this is so important to having your must-have and your deal breaker lists, and having them written out so that when you're in the midst of that infatuation, when you've got that, or as a friend of mine says, you got that love glaze over your eyes, that you can take out your list and step back from the infatuation or the love glaze and say, does he have this, or does she have all of these things on my list? If not, then it's time to move on, because not only are you going to be, if you've got 20 things on your list and he meets 19 or has 19 of those 20, what do? The first word out of your mouth should be next. Because if you accept 19 out of 20, somewhere down the road, you're going to say, I settled. I wish he would have had this, or I wish she would have had that. And, it's so much easier to walk away early from a relationship or potential relationship that, you don't get all of the emotions and all caught up in the infatuation long before it becomes a problem. And the longer you stay in a mediocre relationship, and when I say mediocre, it could be a good relationship. It's just not extraordinary. The longer you stay, the harder it is to walk away, because nobody wants hurt feelings. Nobody wants to walk away and be sad and upset and brokenhearted. So do these things early, and and that's why I preach about wanting to do the hard work up front, because it's so much easier than trying to fix a broken relationship down the road. And that's why we've got so much divorce today, is because we're trying to fix broken relationships. We didn't take the time up front to see what we had in common, to let to look past the infatuation and see, does he have everything I want, or does she have everything I want? Are there any deal breakers present, or are there some things, there are things that pop up, like how they treat people. They may be, and those things take a little bit of time to figure out, but for most part, you can start identifying these things early on,
Right.
and save yourself a lot of time and a lot of heartache. And then you just move on to the next one.
Pamela Perkle says, looks could be gone in a split second. Humor is the key to success. Got to be able to laugh.
Yep. There's, and that's a good sense of humor is important for any relationship. And you have to especially learn to laugh at yourself. When you, when you can't laugh at yourself, then you're probably taking life a little too seriously.
Mm-hmm. And Sfiso says, find a friend that will help in turbulent times, of course. And we are in turbulent times right now. And Merlin, who's in Canada, a long one. My husband told me when he was 15 that he would marry me someday, and it took 7 years. But we had a great marriage. Arguments, of course. 42 years later, he was told that he had ALS and lived in ICU, and he decided to die. With love in his eyes, he said goodbye. But I came out of all of this, a better person. That's a beautiful sharing, huh?
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, please forgive me. I'm so sorry that you lost your husband, but that was an awesome relationship. And there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. Life happens. There's illness. Somebody loses a job. There's family problems, there's kid problems, and they all put stresses on the relationship. And we are going to argue, we are going to fight. But when you're with that extraordinary person, you're fighting in the same direction. You're fighting for the same thing. You're fighting for your relationship, even though you may disagree on some things. But then you learn to at times disagree or agree to disagree. So, so I missed that one. What you had up there, Jim?
Yeah, Jennifer said she and Ken have never verbally said "I love you" to each other, but we both know we do. How do we both verbally say it? We've been together 14 years. I don't think they're married. They've been together, living together, but they've never verbally said "I love you." So they're asking, how do you say it?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. They know they feel it, but the words aren't coming up to the surface.
Well, and I would. It seems to me there's something back in the background. And I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor, so I'm just guessing here. But it should be. I'm all about being direct, and I know that's very difficult for people. But you should just say, Ken, I love you. As simple as that. And if that creates an issue in the relationship, then there's something underlying, some underlying issues, whether they're childhood issues or emotional issues that need to be addressed. But there's
intimacy or
there's a fear of intimacy, or a fear of saying I love you.
And I love you makes it seem locked in, committal sometimes.
It could very well be. Again, I'm not a therapist or a counselor, so and that might take some professional counseling
together.
But if you've been together 14 years, unless you really don't love each other, which I don't believe is the case, because I think you said that you both do love each other, you feel it, but there's something bonding and about being able to say I love you. One of the things I learned from my ex is to say I love you every time in the morning, when I got up, when I walked out the door to go to work, when I hung up the phone. And The reason, and the reason being, is that if that was the last time we ever talked to each other, I wanted her to know that I loved her. And it's the same way with a couple of the relationships I've been in. I didn't want to one day step off this earth and not have her know that I loved her. So I think that's an important, and it's something important to take into consideration.
To think about, because it could be the last time that you see that person, and you don't want to have any regrets.
Exactly.
Christine says the dating world seems to be, all virtual these days, with social distancing still in place. Difficult times to start dating in person, obviously.
Yeah, it's difficult to date in person, but again, there are ways around it. And again, depending on your location, you can, especially if you have someone in mind, or you're talking to someone, you can get together. You can meet for coffee or cocktails, and that's all I recommend is, for a first date or a meet and greet, is coffee and cocktails. Because if it doesn't go well, you can politely excuse yourself and move on with the rest of your day. Whereas if you get into a dinner, you're there for an hour or 2 hours, and depending on how fancy it is. And that can be really painful. If you start with cocktails and it goes well, you can move into dinner and continue the conversation. But just start off simple.
Exactly. Christine says her father bought her mother a vacuum for Christmas once. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
unless it was an Electrolux, and the guy came to the house and put the dirt on the carpet and did the demonstration. It wasn't an Electrolux, because back then an Electrolux was like gold.
Yeah, it was. It was the gold standard.
It's like everybody wanted the Electrolux. That's
right. There's nothing less romantic than receiving some sort of household appliance. I mean, unless you have that kind of relationship, where what I
wonder? I just thought of this. I wonder, because she said when, the father gave the mother the vacuum for Christmas, the mother wasn't so pleased. It wasn't a pretty situation. I would imagine that she probably told her husband, "You suck."
Yeah. But I'm
getting the vacuum.
Yeah. No, and it could mean, it could have a lot of underlying implications, like you're not taking care of the house well enough, or
a little hint.
Yeah, so, there's the old passive aggressive Christmas present. So
right, exactly. Here's another one. Ernestine in North Carolina. I had a soulmate. We were married for 39 years before he passed away. We did everything together. We really had a great marriage. He was always telling me how blessed we were to have such a great marriage. Some people go through a lifetime without experiencing what we had. It's been almost 6 years and still not easy being alone. So very sorry to hear that, Ernestine. Thanks for sharing that beautiful story with us.
Ernestine, yeah, I'm so sorry, but you have a very rare experience with someone, being with your soulmate. And you're right. 90% of people never experience that. You still have the opportunity to find that again, because I believe we have more than one soulmate out there. And it's always just a matter of which one we find first. But since you've had that soulmate experience, you know what it's like. You know what that feeling is like. Now, the next one, you'll have some of the similar feelings, and you'll have a deep connection with it, or with him. But it will be different. It will be a different, there will be different likes, different this, different that. But you can have that again. I firmly believe that, Ernestine. So if you are looking, keep looking. And I understand it being difficult to be alone after you've had that kind of relationship.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's important. I mean, sharing and telling the story, not holding it in, is also very important too. In the way that she just shared that,
Yeah.
Christopher Joseph's funny. I've taken pictures of smokers, then thrown the pictures out. And Carla in Brazil, watching in Brazil, amazed by this interview. Rich is Rich, uh, really enthusiastic.
Well, thank you, Carla. Yeah, I am very passionate about this. Um, uh, it's just what I do. I love helping people, and I love moving people in the right direction.
I like what Pamela Perkle writes here. Mine is smoke-free and no abusive language or actions. There are no second chances with violence. That's important too. And you could have verbal violence. You can really put somebody down and destroy somebody's
Oh,
self-worth and character just by words.
yeah, and that's early on. I talked about how my dad called me stupid and an idiot, and it wasn't until I was age 52 that I was able to overcome that. And just a quick side note here: the way you overcome that is you replace that person's voice. You know, if you've got somebody that's verbally abusive to you or mentally, verbally abusive, you change the voice that you hear in your head. And I changed it to the voice of my best friend after we had this amazing conversation about how we viewed each other in our lives, together and separately. And it was just, for me, it happened that quick. I mean, it was just the flip of a switch, and said, holy crap, I'm not stupid. I'm not an idiot. And it was very cathartic for me. I mean, it was just, the lights went on, and
aha moment.
it was an aha moment.
Absolutely. Some more comments coming in here. Feel free, folks. Don't be shy. Any questions? We are here. We're live. Rick is very approachable. As you know, as your host, I'm very approachable. So bring it on. Anything you're thinking about, whether it's for yourself or for your friend.
Yeah.
I'm asking for the friend, right? Some interesting questions here. Merlin, who's in Innerkip, Ontario, Canada. I thought this was going to be boring. Wrong. Really enjoying it.
Well, thank you, Marilyn. And I just see Renee made a comment here talking about beer goggles. Yeah. Yeah, that can really blur your vision.
That's another one. My deal breaker, this is Kathleen in New York City. My deal breaker list is short too. Never cheat on me, never betray my trust or lie to me, and never any abuse.
Yep. There you go.
Good list. You
Yeah.
know, that's a very good list. And that's so true. This is a great conversation. This is Ernestine, and she agrees
Thank you, Ernestine.
what you're saying. And Renee said, thinking that you can change the other person does not work.
No, it does not. That's the death knell to a relationship right there.
Pamela saying, love what is. If you can't, then do the right thing and move on.
Absolutely. That's a great comment, that if you're not feeling the connection, if you're not feeling the love, again, I was talking with a gentleman this morning, that I'd mentioned earlier, that he was dating someone for 3 months, and he said she's just trying like heck to make this relationship work, and he's just not feeling it. And I said, you got to let her go, because she deserves extraordinary just like you do. And you can't give it to her because you're not that connected to her.
And you're not fully invested. And right.
Yeah. Exactly. And the interesting thing with that, Jim, is that the one that loves the least has the most power in the relationship. Because the one that's doing all the giving is going to bend over backwards and do anything and everything they can to make the relationship work, and the other person is just like, yeah, okay, whatever, and do this for me, do that for me, and making them jump through hoops, and it's not necessarily a power thing, but it's a natural imbalance of power in the relationship.
Ernestine, she talked about the loss of her soulmate, but before she and her husband had married, they discussed what they expected out of it, which is a good thing to do, right?
Absolutely. And that's why extraordinary communication is so important. And that's part of the intellectual connection. Being able to talk about anything and everything, and not taking anything off the table. I'm a firm believer that every topic has to be on the table. You can agree to disagree, but you have to be able to talk about it, because the minute you take something off the table, you're creating another roadblock. You're creating a hurdle that you have to either get around or go over, and it just makes the relationship so much harder. And setting the expectations up front is always the way to go. This is what I expect. This is who I am. If you like it, great. If not, okay, we can move on. But again, and I learned that from my financial planning years. Set the expectations early, and when you do, nobody can be upset. It's just, or if they're upset, then you say, remember, I told you this is what it's like. This is what I do. This is who I am.
Right. Exactly. Sficio watching asks about the combination of dealing with finances and relationships. That could be a whole other bee's nest as well, huh?
Well, that's one of those things.
And you've perfectly blended the two worlds with the two hats you've worn. So you are the expert on this one.
And again, this goes back to communication. You have to know if you're dating someone, you have to, and in the first couple of dates, you're not going to get their balance in their checkbook and what their 401k is worth and those types of things. But when you start, if you've gotten past the first 30, 60, 90 days, you got to start having some conversations about finances. When you start getting into a serious relationship, you have to know how your partner handles money. Do they squander it, or are they a saver? And how do you handle money? Are you do you squander money, or do you save it? And most commonly, you're going to see one that's a saver and one that's a spender, one that's interested in money and one that isn't. And so that creates some difficult dynamics in how to deal with in the relationship, because so many relationships are torn apart by money issues. Money is a very, very emotional topic, and so it's something you have to work out early on. It's not something you can get married and start working on 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road. You need to start early on and make sure that you're on the same page. If you're not on the same page, then let's move on and not play games. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste my time. But you have to start having these conversations. Again, you don't need to know what their checking account balance is, but
with that, well, I mean, I've even heard of situations where people are asking on these first dates the credit score, and if the credit score isn't what they want, they're out. That's a new thing.
I'm glad I didn't have that question, because after my divorce, my credit score was garbage. I don't know that I don't know that I would be asking those questions that early on. But if money is that important to you, to me, that would be a red flag, and say, yeah, I'm out. That's because that's not who I am. Well, and don't misunderstand me. Money is important, and it helps us do things. It's not the top of mind. I want to make sure that we're compatible intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I want to make sure we speak similar love language. I want to make sure that you have everything on my must-have list and none of my deal breakers. Mm-hmm. And I do have a couple of financial must-haves on my must-have list, but it's 1 or 2 out of 36. So it's just work into that over time, but don't take a lot of time to get into it.
You think you tackled that one, huh? How about this one?
I truly, I actually love this one, Christine. It is a great one.
And it's
I
topical.
It is. And I truly, and again, I truly believe you need to be on the same page with each other politically. And that's whether you're conservative, whether you're liberal, whether you're independent, whether you're apolitical. I don't care. There are a few instances where opposites can live together, but that's not a battle. For me, that's not a battle I want to fight every day. And again, if you're on opposite sides, you tend to not talk about it, and that creates another roadblock or another hurdle. And again, for an extraordinary relationship, you really need to be able to talk about anything and everything, and that includes politics. I'll tell you a quick story. I was on I think it was a Bumble app, and we hadn't even gotten to a phone call, and we were like 3 texts in, and she says, well, if you support this person, then we're done, and then we've got nothing to talk about. And I said, okay, I wish you all the best. And she came back with 3 more texts and telling me that just calling me every name under the book or under the sun. And it was like, really? I said goodbye. Why are you?
Sounded like a queen bee trying to sting you on Bumble.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, yeah, now I know why you're divorced. I just dodged a bullet on that one.
You just sit back and it's all spelled out in front of you just through the people's actions, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to what people say and what people do.
And how they treat others.
Another one of my favorite things is to listen to what people say.
Yeah.
Because their words, listen to the words they use, because their words will betray their heart, what's deep inside of them. And it can. I'll give a quick example. I was on a date with a gal, and she was into training, raising puppies to become service dogs, and she would raise them for about 18 months, and then they'd go off to service dog school and do their stuff. And the first time we talked about it, she said, oh, you'll be amazed at when you see these dogs work, you'll be amazed at what they learn. And then a subsequent date, we were talking about the same thing, and it was, if you ever get to see these dogs work, you'll be amazed. And if you did, and for those of you that weren't paying attention to that, the first sentence or the first comment she made was when, which projected me into her future. The second comment was if, which means I wasn't in her future and she didn't see me in her future. So, and we obviously didn't date much longer after that. So, by paying attention to words, the words that people use, you can get a good picture into their soul, but you have to pay attention.
Absolutely. Christine says, I feel one must have a positive self-image in order to allow another to love you. You have to allow the love to also come in. Some people are good at giving the love, but when it comes to accepting it, not so easy. So
that's exactly right. And Christine, that's a great observation. You have to be happy with yourself, because if you're not happy with who you are, nobody else can be happy, and nobody else can make you happy. The happiness has to come from within. And consequently, if you're not happy with yourself, that goes back to the very beginning of our conversation when I said you have to get yourself healthy, and you have to figure out what makes, in this case, what makes Christine happy. I think it was Christine.
It was. Yeah.
Okay. So if you once you figure that out, then then you can start being happy with other people.
Thinking of saying, Karen asks in New Hampshire, thinking of saying, I love you. Do you have any thoughts on who should say it first when dating? Is there a prerequisite who says it first, or is it just whoever says it?
Well, statistically, guys are going to say it first. There was a study done in England several years ago, and guys say it about 93 or 94 days before a woman will say it. I think that the number is something like guys said it at 89 days.
Is there a reason why?
I didn't go that, it's been a while since I looked at that study, but there could have been, but guys, I think more are going to come forth with that more quickly. At least that's my experience. Because we're wired differently than women, and sometimes stuff just comes out and based on what we're feeling, where women are going to be a little more cautious and say, yeah, I want to make sure that this is the right relationship for me before I start getting all my emotions wrapped up. And I see it in guys, the way they date. They break up, they don't, they kind of dive into the next relationship, or so they don't take a lot of time to heal and grow and do the right things, and they lead with their emotions. We don't always talk about it because guys are, we don't always tell them how we feel, but when you're in that intimate relationship, guys tend to say it first. But there's no prerequisite. There's no right or wrong as far as I'm concerned. Whoever says it first, great. It's on the table, and it may scare the crap out of the other person because you may be saying it way before the other person is ready.
Karen also asked, do you have any thoughts regarding cell phone etiquette when meeting for coffee, cocktails, and if they're on their phone all the time while you're trying to get to know the other person, and they're like, hold it, I got a call coming in, I got a deal happening, or whatever. Cell phone etiquette when dating.
Great question. That's a pet peeve of mine, and these damn things are the bane of our existence right now. They just if the other person, or if you looking at your phone etiquette, if you can't turn the phone off, or at least put it on silent and keep it in your purse or in your wallet or in your pocket, unless you're a doctor or on
call.
On call, or the White House needs you, or unless you're someone like that, turn the damn things off. It has no place in the dating world. Show your date the respect that they deserve. They deserve your full attention. When you're playing with this thing, you're not paying attention. You're not being a part of the conversation. You're disrupting the entire conversation or the entire evening. So if Karen, if that's happened to you, or if it happens to you in the future, just politely say, this has been nice, but you're more connected to your phone than you are to me, and I'm out.
Or go meet somebody at Verizon and date them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. You're looking for somebody at the phone company.
Yeah.
She's on a roll. Again, keep the questions coming. Any questions, folks, wherever you are around the world. We are live right now with the relationship expert and coach, Rick Soetebier, and he is here live answering questions. We're having a great conversation. We're learning about his incredible way that he does it, and the successes thereof, and good conversation, great questions that the Lovity audience is coming up with from all around the world. And I'm Jim Masters, your host. Thanks for joining us. Is chivalry dead? I miss it. I'm an educated woman, still like a man to open a door, be kind and polite. I think that's really, really important. I still do all those things.
Yeah.
And years ago, I did that for somebody, and the person said, what do you think? I can't do it myself. And I was like, oh, that's not why I was doing it. I'm actually a gentleman. And I'm like, okay, well, then that means I won't do it anymore, because you just said, what do I think? I can't do it myself, when that wasn't even the thought at all.
And no, and Jim, that's thanks for the question, Karen. That's an awesome question. And Jim, you're absolutely right. I've had that happen myself. But I think and chivalry is not dead, Karen. And it can be taught. And I'm kind of struggling to really walk a fine line here. Feminism in its infancy taught women that they can do everything a man can, and the incidents that Jim has talked about, the incidents I've experienced, it's that's when it has men have received this message that women can do it all. And consequently, for the last couple of generations, fathers have not been teaching their sons how to open a door, how to be a gentleman. Karen, one of the things that I teach my lady clients are to stand at the door and just wait for him to open. If he goes through first, you just stand there. And then he's going to turn around and you can say, these are my expectations. And if he happens to open the door for you, get into the car, make sure he walks around and opens the door to let you out, and just sit there. And it won't take long. And this might be something you put on your profile. It might be something that you have in your early conversations, even before you meet, and just say, I expect to be treated like a lady. I expect this. And if he doesn't want to do it, then next. But it is trainable. With enough bananas, we're like monkeys. With enough bananas, you can teach us to do anything. So
just go on a food strike for a week.
Yeah.
No more supper for a week.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Karen, just set the expectations up front, and it's like we mentioned a little bit ago. Have those conversations early on, and he's going to screw up, and so don't berate him for it. Just make sure he understands that, and then for him it will become a pattern.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Pretty intense one here from Jennifer. We appreciate her sharing this as well. I was on a ventilator 4 days at the end of last year. I fought death and found that I had thyroid throat cancer. That spread in remission. Ken has been in the hospital both times, the whole time with me, taking care of me. After all that, we still don't say I love you to each other. Guess we're more showing each other than saying it. But we both know we love each other. So even through that near-death experience is happening, they know and feel they're doing the things like taking care of one another and running to each other's aid. And they're there and together 14 years in this living relationship, but still not saying I love you.
Well, I want to be very careful here that I don't say that you need to say I love you. That's my preference. And I just want to make sure that, number one, I enjoy hearing it. And number two, I enjoy saying it when I'm with the right person. But, if it's working for you, then you might not want to mess with success. If you're comfortable with it, then I'm not going to say no, it's wrong, because there are exceptions to every rule. And I'm not going to force you to say it if you feel it. And if that's the way both of you are comfortable, or what both of you are comfortable with, then rock and roll with it. But
I would wonder.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking, I wonder, and maybe Jennifer could answer this too. I wonder if Jennifer, instead of verbalizing it, if you guys write it. Do you write a poem? Do you write a letter when you give each other holiday cards and birthday cards and things of that nature? Are you writing I love you or love you or anything in the card? That would be interesting to know if she does that. And that may eventually lead to the saying of it if you're writing it as well, which is a beautiful thing. Renee said, so let us know, Jennifer, do you write I love you in cards and different things you give each other? Renee and I were, says, my mom kept telling me before she passed that if Dad would find another lady friend after she was gone, that she wanted me to accept her since she didn't want Dad to be alone. But she wanted the daughter, Renee, to accept the new woman that would come into her dad's life.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's Renee. And I just did a blog about that last week, and it's talking about dating and children, and in your situation, you're an adult child, and you do have the ability to make or break a relationship. That your father might develop, and I there's a fine line that you walk between giving your approval and disliking somebody for the right reasons, and somebody that you clearly see that might be out to take advantage of your father, or is not generally a good person for whatever reason. I believe it's okay to let your dad know what that's all about, but to hold your dad back based on the fact that you think that he's cheating or betraying your mother, that would be hurtful. And I think that's what your mother was trying to get across to you, that she's okay with him moving on with his life. And what I find is that children look at their parents differently. Even adult children, we all know that we want and need to be loved and have a relationship with someone. But when it comes to our parents, a lot of times we can become very narrow focused, very narrow minded, and we may think we're trying to be protective, or we may be jealous of their time with somebody else. But whatever it is, we're not being true to what our parents really need. We're not thinking of their feelings, their wants, their needs of companionship. So we have to walk a very fine line there. But I think your mother was very wise in sharing that with you, that she wanted you to understand that she approved of your dad moving on. Now, if he's obviously with somebody that's for lack of better terms, a gold digger, or just there for the wrong reasons, then it's good. Then it's okay to speak up and say, no, Dad, this is not the right relationship for you. Remind him that he's operating under infatuation and raging hormones, and have an adult conversation with him.
Is there a time frame? Like, for example, say her mother did pass and the father is still remaining, and the mother had said that, and she still deeply misses the mother, and still experiencing that loss of the mother, and finds it hard to see the dad with somebody else within a certain time frame.
Well, and I look at it, it's hard to watch that happen with our, when our parents pass. And guys tend to jump into relationships too quickly, just as a general rule. But it takes 3 to 5 years to move past all of the emotional baggage. We're generally in a fog for that first year, because we've lost our mate that we've been with for Lord knows how many years. And then we've got other things to start thinking about, our finances and other things. And in that first couple of years, we're just not thinking straight. And so when we start dating and looking for that companionship, a lot of times we're looking to just fill a void. We're not looking for the right relationship. We're just trying to fill a void. And, but there comes a point when mom or dad are operating on all 8 cylinders, and and it's time for them to move on. And just observe your parents when the wedding ring comes off, when their spouse's clothes come out of the closet, when the tools get sold. Those are all signs of healing and moving forward. When the house is no longer a shrine to the late spouse, and when I say shrine, it's not a shrine of pictures and memorabilia and all the things that they had collected over the years. When those things start to get packed up and put away, then that it's time for the adult parent to start moving forward into the dating world. But when you start doing it, when you start jumping back in, and you still have your spouse's clothes, the tools, you're still wearing the wedding ring. It's way too soon for them to jump back into a relationship. So.
Christina says, I've been married for 25 years, and what I have learned is communication is key. To my surprise, men are not mind readers. But most importantly for us is our faith. If we keep God at the center of our marriage and we both try to get closer to God, then we will always be close to each other. Now, I know Christina personally, and she's one of the most warm and friendly and empathetic and compassionate, loving people you'll ever meet. So she's got a wonderful foundation there, and an understanding of the human condition. And I love that she says she realizes that men are not mind readers, because sometimes I think that is thought, and like you were saying earlier when you were talking about the gift and not knowing what the perfect gift was, and I wish you would just tell me what the gift is, because I can't read your mind. That's an assumption. And faith, following faith, very important. That brings them together as well. I know you're a big believer in that.
Yes, absolutely. In one of the books that, even in my book, and for those of you who tuned in later, it's Dating Backward. We recommend a couple of books that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and it talks about the different ways men and women communicate.
That's what Dr. Gray. I interviewed him a few years ago on PBS. That was really good. Yeah. There.
And then read the book, The 5 Love Languages, so that you have an understanding and can learn what your partner's love languages are, so that you can more effectively communicate with them. Again, if you're in the dating world, I think you try to find somebody that speaks your love languages, or at least they're close, or they're similar in priority. But yeah, it's being able to share with each other what's going on during your day, and ladies, God love you. You can jump into the middle of a thought and expect us to follow along. It just doesn't work that way. You got to go all the way back to the beginning. We're kind of simple, and you've got to start from the beginning of the conversation. And so, and when you're with your girlfriends, you can jump into a conversation. I know my ex and I had this problem, but my daughter and my ex and my ex mother-in-law, they can all start in the middle of a thought and know what the other's talking about. And I'm scratching my head. What the hell's going on? I don't know. And so they would have to go back to the beginning and share with me what they were talking about.
With all those X's you mentioned, it sounds like X marks the spot.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's a couple more coming in. Joseph, good to see you, Joseph. He's in Stamford, Connecticut. He says, good evening, Jim and Rick. Rick, do you think couples don't work on their relationships the way our parents and grandparents did? He's watching on Jim Masters TV on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Divorce wasn't as common back then. They sort of stuck together. They stuck together for the, cheery for the cause. They stuck together for the sake of the children. Now people, everything, we're in a disposable society, even when it comes to relationships.
Yep.
Thanks for the question, Joseph. Good to see you.
Joseph, that's a great question. We're in an immediate gratification society and a disposable society. And, it was back in the, what was it? Back in the late 60s or early 70s when the first no-fault divorce came along. And that was a turning point in relationships where you didn't have to prove cause. You didn't have to, it made divorce easy. So, and incrementally, it's just, it becomes so much easier just to get a divorce and not work on problems. So I think our grandparents worked on problems much harder than we do. But it still goes back to I think it goes back to the fundamental principle that if you do the hard work up front in finding the right person to be with, you're not going to have as many issues to work on. It doesn't mean you won't have issues. Every relationship is going to have issues. I don't want anybody walking away from this conversation thinking that if you find the right person, that it's going to be all rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns. It's not. It still takes work, and it takes work every day, every week. You just need to be able to spend time talking and sharing, and when something comes up, you can't bury it. You have to be, when you have a problem, you've got to be able to share it with your spouse or your spouse in this case. And what you want to do is you may need to schedule some time to talk about it. You don't want to, but you don't want to bury it for 6 weeks, 6 months, and then all of a sudden it come exploding out like a volcano, and your partner is like, where the hell did that come from? So don't. You got to talk about things as they happen. If you're really angry about something, step away, calm down, and say, let's talk in an hour. Let me calm down. And Pamela, yeah, absolutely right. People, just let people talk, and they will tell you who they are. But you have to listen. Actually being Christine says actually being locally in politics for many resulted in marriages that I saw. Yeah, if you're actively if you're on if you have a common thread or a common common goal, so to speak,
and common wavelength too.
Yeah, you're on the same wavelength. It makes life so much easier, and that's why I say it's if you take as many of the roadblocks out of your way, your relationship is so much easier. Your marriage is so much easier down the road. There's not as much to fix, But if you're on opposite ends of politics, or if you're on opposite, you're not equally yoked, as it were. Spiritually, if you don't have these things in common, you just put up hurdle after hurdle after hurdle and just make your marriage or your relationship so much more difficult.
The other thing is, men like to fix things. And sometimes when, a woman comes home after a bad day or something's going on, the man will offer all of these suggestions. Well, when you go in there tomorrow, you tell them this, and this is what you say. Don't let her or she or him, or don't let them bother you. You do this, you lay down the law, and then you could hear, but I didn't want you to tell me what to do. I just wanted you to listen. And sometimes for guys that can be hard, because they want to repair it. They want to take care of that person. They want to fix it. They want to correct it, get it off the other person's back, slay the dragon type thinking. Somebody's bothering you. Let's get rid of this problem right now. And sometimes there is that clash between the guy wanting to fix it, because that's what he thinks he's supposed to do, help and fix and support. And then the other person saying, well, I just wanted you to listen, but don't say anything. Can be very difficult sometimes for
it can. And one of the things that I had to learn to say, and I got this from men are from Mars, women are from Venus, is that sometimes you just have to stop and say, wait, are you wanting my help, or do you just want me to listen? Or if ladies, if you're talking to your man, just say, I just need you to listen. I don't need you to fix this. I just need you to listen. And you set the expectations, or set the boundaries for the conversation, because if you start, and I'm as much of a guy as the next, and you start telling me a situation that's going on, or a problem that you're having, I go into fix it mode. I go into the white knight mode. I want to ride to your rescue and make sure that everything goes your way, because that's one of the ways I express love. That's one of the ways I express my
I'm that way too.
My appreciation for you.
Yeah. Let me help you. Let me take care of that for you.
Yeah.
How can I help? Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's very difficult for me to step back and say, wait, are you just want me to listen, or do you want me to help?
And it's not that you want to take the power away from the person. You want to help them. You want to, you want to equally add to it. You don't want to take, some people do want to take the power away,
right?
Not let the person have any decision making, which is not right at all.
Right.
But you want to make their day or life easier in some way. So yeah, it's a little bit of Pamela says some men just need to know you're okay with them doing those things for you. So that's a great comment. And Willie in Holland, who's still with us, she's loving this conversation.
Wow.
Because it's 3 a.m. where she is. Thank you, Willie. She's dating she had 3 dates with men, and all 3 men, again, she's a little of her Dutch is coming in here.
Yeah.
Dated 3 men, all 3 men. And after they had the coffee, they wanted to go right to bed. Just after having, initially just going out for a coffee, they immediately, right after just a coffee, they wanted to go to bed. Why is this? It's too quick. My theory is that probably they had an espresso.
Yeah, well, that could be.
But what does the relationship expert say?
But Willie, what you're doing there is you're weeding out the wrong people. Those are third class or third rate men that you're dating. Or that you've had a date with, because that's all they're focused on. They're not focused on getting to know you. They're not focused on getting into a deep conversation. They're just looking for sex, and they can go get that at a brothel. Let them go do that. And since I think you said you were on a online dating site. One of the things that you might insert there is that you're not looking for a one-night stand or a hookup, or however you want to phrase it. That it's just that's not who you are. That you're looking for a long-term relationship, and if you expect sex on the first date, second date, third date, keep scrolling. Don't stop here, because that's not what I'm about. And I think it's healthy to have conversations about sex in the early stages of getting to know each other, because then you can get to know each other's preferences, and if there's some compatibility issues, those are things that you can discuss a little more thoroughly. You have to be careful, though, that when you start talking about sex or physical intimacy, that the conversation can get derailed and go way off course, and get into sexting or phone sex or whatever it is. And so you want to try to avoid that. But I don't have any problem with finding out, preferences and those types of things. But just, make sure that you're keeping it those conversations at a very high level. And again, just you might say in your profile, and you might ask early on, Willie, that what are you looking for in a relationship? and just, when you start talking to somebody before you meet, what are you looking for? And, they'll start to, just by listening to them, they'll start to reveal that they're looking for sex.
Right. It'll yeah.
It'll bubble to the surface.
Yeah. Renee says, my 30-year-old daughter, there's no way you have a 30-year-old daughter.
Not with that picture.
No way, Renee. My 30-year-old daughter has trust issues with men since she was engaged and was making wedding plans when she found out her fiance was cheating on her.
Yeah, that's that's a difficult situation. But trust, and depending on how deep her trust issues are, she may need to seek counseling or therapy. But one of the things that you can convey to her, that not everybody is her ex-fiance.
Right.
One of the things that I've learned after my divorce is we all have certain triggers that cause us to react a certain way. And when we start to recognize those triggers popping up, just stop and talk to the person about it, saying, listen, I'm being triggered by this action. What does it, this is how I'm feeling, and this is how I'm reacting. What does this mean from coming from you? And discover what their meaning is behind a certain action or a certain comment, or it boils down to communication and being able to share her thoughts and feelings, that saying, listen, I was burned. I don't want that to happen again. But she has to understand that not every man she dates is going to be her ex. Just we're all different. We may do some or say some of the same things, and that may trip a trigger. And that's something she has to work on and recognize that it wasn't meant, 99 times out of 100, it wasn't meant to hurt or be a problem. But she has to step back and recognize those things and start working through some of that. Otherwise, if she remains stuck in the lack of trust area, she's going to be lonely and bitter for the rest of her life.
Exactly. And you wouldn't want that to be the case. Danilo in San Diego says, sometimes I like to hear it, but actions do speak louder than words. I want to feel love and witness it. And actions do speak louder than words oftentimes, right?
Absolutely. And it goes back to the old saying, are they walking the walk and they can talk the talk and walk the walk, but are they walking the talk?
Mm-hmm.
And they have to display their words or their actions have to speak louder than words. Your partner, your date has to share their, prove to you, I guess, for lack of better terms, or show you their love, their admiration, their appreciation. And those how you show it is different for everyone.
Right.
You show me appreciation by helping me wash the car, or helping me clean the boat. Whatever it is.
Yeah. The dishwasher, or make the bed, or basic things. Yeah. Very important. They go a long way. Jennifer, we had asked the question as far as if they write "I love you" in cards and things of that nature. She says, yeah, I'll try writing it to him. I'll leave an "I love you" note every other day. I don't want to be too pushy. Maybe if he reads it enough, he might actually want and say it. So
now, and I'm kind of getting mixed signals here, Jennifer, from you. And here's what I mean by that. It sounds like you want to hear "I love you," but in your last message, and I'm not I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, but it sounded like you were justifying why you didn't. So if you can share with us or share with me if you're wanting to hear it, then I think writing it, just starting in baby steps, just take baby steps. And maybe every other day is too much. You might give them a note once a week to start with, and then build up from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then just see how he responds. But don't let his response distract you or detract you from continuing, because it will take him a while.
Or lack of response, right?
Yeah. Just a lack of response. Don't be discouraged. Just keep doing it. It will be as helpful for you as it is for him.
Absolutely.
And it may take several months to get him to cross that hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it consistently, he will recognize it, and hopefully he will appreciate it and reciprocate.
Willie's asking if your book is also in Dutch.
No, it's not. It's in English only, but it's available on Amazon.
It's on Amazon as well.
Yeah.
Pamela says, my mom and I would drive my dad insane. We would finish a conversation from months ago. The memory, that real memory like a cat.
Exactly. No, I totally get it.
Something you said 13 years ago, I'm going to mention now because I didn't like it. We never finished that.
Yeah, exactly. But see, women, and this is part of how women communicate is they attach everything to an emotion. Conversations, events, everything's connected to emotions, and guys are a little more linear in that, we put things in a box. We think we're done with the conversation. We throw that, we store that box away, never thinking that we're going to talk about it again, only to have somebody bring it up years later or weeks later. We thought we were done with that conversation. Well, where the heck did that come from?
Exactly. If you're just joining us, everybody, I'm your host, Jim Masters. We're live right now worldwide on the Jim Masters Show Live. Very special guest, relationship expert, coach, author, and speaker, Rick Soetebier, and he's answering your questions. We're having a great time. We're learning about relationships. I know we're talking a lot about the dating and romantic and the spouses and the partners. Relationships also are fostered through friendships and nurturing friendships and relationships that we have with our colleagues as well. And those need to be fertilized and watered and nurtured as well. And during this time that we're in right now, I think a lot of people are pausing during this reset we're going through here and taking a step and appreciating or starting to appreciate some of those relationships that maybe, whether it is the partner, the spouse, relationship with the parent, the child, the coworker, the friend, the best friend, that maybe they haven't been paying attention to, and now we have all the time in the world to pay attention to it, and they back as well. So nurturing all the relationships in our lives, the friends, everything is so important, right? Because it makes us more even keel and balanced.
Right. And because those we need a circle of friends or a certain group of friends. And the older I get, I recognize that I need a fewer number of friends, and I can count on probably on one hand those people that are closest to me. And that doesn't mean I don't know a lot of people, but there are just a certain group of people that are very close to me and that are on my inner circle. And those are the relationships I tend to nurture. And a lot of times, and with some of those relationships, some of those can go for months, if not years. Because of the connection you have with these people, they can go a long, long time. And you jump back into you see them or reconnect with them, and then all of a sudden you're back 20 years and just catching up, and it's like you never missed a beat. But at this time, when we don't have the ability to get out and see people, it's good to reconnect and nurture those relationships, because every good relationship, every strong relationship needs to be nurtured, and that's as simple as reaching out and say, "Hey, Jim, how you doing? Hey, Rick, how you doing? How are you handling this stuff that's going on right now?" And just letting people know that you're there. If they've got an issue, that you can help them with it, whatever they need. And sometimes it's just the verbal hug that they get from connecting. Just having some. I was in an electronics store this afternoon. My best friend owns one. And it was funny because there was a 75-year-old woman buying a radio, and I knew what was going on, and she was driving him crazy, but she needed the human interaction. She was lonely. She couldn't make a decision about this and about that, and she just was lonely and needed to connect with somebody. And he happened to be it, and he was so gracious about it. But knowing him as well as I did, I could see the frustration in his face. I was like, "Oh, come on, lady, make a decision."
Let's get going. Keep it moving.
Yeah.
Your approach to all of this, what is it about your approach that you think, Rick, makes your perspective and the way you approach things so unique? There's a lot of different coaches and those who are involved in relationship coaching, things of that nature, out there, but what is it about your approach and your perspective, Rick, that makes you unique and maybe a little bit different in terms of the way you approach everything?
Well, I try to take a very practical approach, and probably a little more analytical. We all like the thought of serendipity and just things happening magically. And one of my favorite chick flicks is a movie called Serendipity. It's just a fun movie, but life doesn't happen that way. I think you have to be very focused, very intentional about what you do when it comes to dating and relationships. What I find is that people that just kind of date willy-nilly, so to speak, end up getting burned. They end up getting into relationships that are unhealthy, toxic relationships. And with just a little bit of focus and a little bit of dating intentionally, you can skip through so much of that crap that you can wade through it. And I get so many remarks that there's nothing but scammers online. There's all men are pigs, or all men are jerks. Women are crazy. It's you have to go back to the very basics. And that's what my book does. It takes you back to the very beginning. Figure out what you want. You've got to become healthy. You've got to get rid of your baggage. You can't come into the dating world with a negative attitude. Well, my husband cheated on me. Well, yeah, okay. Are you gonna to care? Does that mean that all men are cheaters? No, he's not. Your ex is not all of your future dates. There are cheaters out there, and they will do that. But not every guy is that way. Not every woman is that way. Not every woman has the bad characteristics of your ex. So you have to move past that. You have to move through that. And until you get rid of that negativity and that hostility, you can't date in any healthy manner. You're dating from a position of weakness. You should always be dating from a position of strength, and that means being emotionally and physically healthy. And when you get to that point, you gain clarity on what you're looking for, and then you move forward into the dating world. You date intentionally. You move in circles. You develop a circle of single friends, so that you can in multiple circles. Because when you're with this group of friends, you're going to meet a certain group of people, and you're with them long enough, you're going to meet all of their friends. And if you continue in that circle, you're never going to meet anyone new. So you have another circle over here and another circle over here, and you're constantly moving between these circles of friends because they all bring something different to your life. And so it's important, just for not even from a dating perspective, but from a life perspective. You have friends with different interests that keep those circles of interest alive. When and a lot of times when you get wrapped up in one circle, you start getting into this downward spiral of negativity. But if you're only interspersed with these occasionally, or not on a regular basis, you have much more opportunity to grow as a person. You learn new hobbies, new interests, new whatever. And then you meet all their different friends. So you open yourself up to the possibility of meeting many more people.
And relationships of all kinds really are about being equal and compromise too. That's very important to learn to be able to compromise, especially if it was somebody that's been maybe single for years and they're used to doing things their own way, and now here comes somebody into their life that they need to make that adjustment to compromise.
I like the word adjust better, or adjustment. In fact, my blog today was about compromise. Excuse me, Jim, but I don't like the word compromise, because when you look at the definition, it means that you're both giving in to a less than ideal situation.
And you're giving up something that represents you.
Exactly. And so when you're especially from a dating and a relationship standpoint, a romantic relationship, the only thing I believe you should compromise on is where to eat dinner, what tube of toothpaste, or, where you squeeze the tube of toothpaste,
bottom or the top, or the toilet paper should come out from the top or the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. It's still, for me, it's still over the top.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, it gets stuck when it goes the other way. You got to pull it, and it rips.
But these are the little things that we have to think about.
The little things,
or what movie to go see. Those are the things that you compromise on. But all too often, what people do is they compromise on their values. They give up something important.
Don't want to do that, right?
And so that's why I'm very cautious about using the word compromise.
So many people do. You hear it all the time too. Yeah. That's the word, the go-to word. But adjusting is the better.
You have to adjust your lifestyle. You have to move your clothes over in the closet. You have to make space. You have to adjust to somebody being in your space or in close proximity to you. But to compromise, that just, and as I said in my blog today, that to me, that denotes either a lose-lose, or at best a lose-win.
It's going to lead to problems.
Exactly. And when I look at an extraordinary or a soulmate relationship, I want to be in a win-win-win situation. She wins, I win, and we win as a couple. Because when you're with that right person, you're going to enhance their life, and they're going to enhance yours. They're the person, when you're with that soulmate, they make you want to be a better person every day. And it's just it. And I get really passionate about this, Jim, because I've seen it happen. I've experienced it, and it's just amazing, the feeling and the connection that you can have with somebody that they just light up your world. They light up your day. And again, you're still going to have issues, but overall, you're working in the same direction. You're pulling in the same direction. You're working on that relationship.
And you can't compare them to anybody that came before, right?
That's right.
A lot of people do that.
If you had an extraordinary relationship or a soulmate relationship in the past, like, I forget what her name was. She mentioned that she was married for, I think, 48 years. And
I think Merlin. Yeah.
And your husband. That's great. I mean, when you know each other that well and you connect that deeply, you can finish each other's sentences. That is right.
Yeah.
But and if you've had one of those relationships and lost it, then the next one is going to be different. But you can still have that same feeling, that deep interconnection, that desire to be a better person for your mate, and vice versa. And it's and no relationship. Another one of my pet peeves is, it's got to be a 50-50 relationship. No, it's got to be 100-100. You're each giving 100% to that relationship, because what you want is the relationship where you're both giving 100% and not expecting anything in return. That's agape love. That is extraordinary love. That's unconditional love.
It reminds me of why everybody says very unique, when actually unique is unique. There's no such thing as very unique. It's unique, but we all say it. That is very unique. And actually it's not. It's just unique. There's only unique, right?
How do you catch a unique rabbit?
Right.
How do you catch a unique rabbit? Unique up on it.
Yeah. Guess what? Here's a good friend. Christine Fairwood says she got a big lobster. She's in New England, in Connecticut, so she got a great New England lobster from a friend who has traps today. That's a good friend. A friend that brings you a lobster after a hurricane came through.
Wow. Awesome.
That is a very, very...
I think I want to go to Christine's for dinner.
That's it. Willie is... She's saying your last name is a Dutch name. She's been asking this all night. Are you from the Dutch?
It is. And Jim and I talked about this a little bit before the show. We, for the longest time, and this is just a little side note here, for the longest time, our family thought we were German, because my grandparents came directly from Germany. But in how I learned that we had Dutch heritage was that quite a few years ago, I was at a Rotary Youth Exchange event in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and there was 6 regions, and there was hundreds and hundreds of kids there. And this girl from the Netherlands walks up to me and says, "Oh, Soetebier, that means sweet beer." And instantly I knew that's because I talked to several people from Germany, and they said, "Yeah, we don't know what that means. There's a letter missing in there somewhere." But when she told that to me, and then in later years, I talked to my uncle, and he says, "Yeah, we had somebody from Holland move to Germany to build dams, or to build a dam, and they stayed in Germany, and that's how our lineage started in Germany." But yeah, you're right. It is Dutch in heritage.
So ever since you learned that, you had a real hankering for stroopwafels, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden. So when you look at all of this work, I mean, it's incredible work that you do. What are some of the great things that you experience that continue to bring you this inspiration, this joy to continue this work? It must be when you see people experience these fulfilling relationships, and you've helped to not hold their hand, but give them the tools and resources they need to be able to find within the resources that they may have built in, to allow it to flow and allow it to happen, allow it to blossom. You're sort of like the facilitator, the conduit. It's coming through you to show them how they can do it for themselves. And that must bring you a great blessing as well. So what are some of the things that give you such great inspiration and joy to continue this great work, Rick?
The one that comes to mind immediately, and don't misunderstand me, I've had many clients that have gone on to find their soulmates and get into great extraordinary soulmate relationship. That's always a highlight. But one of the, probably even more so, is that, especially when I'm either working one-on-one or in a seminar or a workshop, it's when somebody has an aha moment. It's the light comes on and saying, "Oh, I get it. This is, by doing this, this will happen," or because I've been doing this, this is why this is happening. And it's just these little aha moments that are so amazing, that when people get it and they can change what they're doing and stop making the mistakes that have been holding them back, those are what I live for. And it's just, I just got done working with a guy. We worked together for not quite 3 months, and it was so amazing to watch his transformation from, God, it's just, he was just down and depressed, to working with him, moving past his ex, and actually finding another woman that he's really enjoying spending time with. I mean, he doesn't know if she's going to be the one for the rest of his life, but he met somebody that's much more like him and very compatible, and they're just having a ball. Those are the aha moments that people have, that just light me up.
It's great, isn't it, when those things happen? When you're touching people's lives in that way. What is your hope for the future of the work that you do? Like you said, you do speaking engagements and workshops, and that, I imagine a lot of those things are happening virtually now too, right?
A lot of that stuff happens virtually. But ultimately, I want to start developing courses, or I'm in the process of developing courses for online, so I can reach more people.
Sure.
The idea is to be able to connect and share my information, share my knowledge with people that can't necessarily be in the Kansas City area, and it's just disseminate this whole thing started because the divorce rate was continuing to climb, and it's still, I think it's kind of stabilized. But the whole idea is to start eliminating or reducing the divorce rate by making better decisions up front, and not having to work so hard or trying to fix broken relationships on the back end.
That's true. The book, where can they find the book? You said Amazon, and
Amazon. You can find it on my website at ricksoetebier.com/resources. And I'll send a copy out to you. Or you can get it on Amazon. It's available in paperback or their e-reader. So if you like the Kindle, you can grab it there. And that's, I'd love to say they're available in all bookstores, but no, I'm a small-time self-published author, and it just takes time. But if anybody wants one, just send me a message, or you can go online and order it, and it'll go out probably the next day.
We've talked a lot about coffee on this particular episode of the Jim Masters Show Live.
Yeah.
Coffee, laptops, food. Where was this shot taken?
That was taken in Austin, Texas.
Great city.
Yeah, it is. And my daughter and I were out. My daughter's a photographer, and she's done all my business pictures. And we were just kind of roaming around, walking around downtown, looking for a nice place. And this was about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and they were just getting ready to open. And she goes in and said, "Hey, can we use a table for just a few minutes?"
Mm-hmm.
And she got this shot and a couple of other great shots. And this is also in Austin, and I can't tell you exactly where. I've only been there a couple of times, but because she's a wedding photographer, she knows all these great venues to shoot at, and she just captures me better than anybody I've ever seen.
That's fantastic. The love of a child, right?
Yeah.
Very tough to top. Love of a mother, a father, love of, about a lot of levity here on the show.
Yeah, levity. There you go.
That's what it is. So the future, what do you see as the future? This whole new thing that we're experiencing this year, with the social distancing and pandemics and the economy and civil unrest and all the things that are happening at once. There's strain happening on a lot of relationships as well, because of just the overwhelm and the magnitude of everything. Just when you think one thing's happening, then this other thing and this other thing, and then there'll be a fire or a storm or a tornado or an earthquake or a hurricane or whatever that just adds to it all.
Yeah.
What do people do in terms of making sure that they don't neglect the relationships during the tough times, the dark times?
Well, and you know, if you're married or in a relationship, you need to continue the communication. If you've got kids, you need to take time for yourselves. You need to have mom and dad time. And the toughest relationships I've had to deal with are those that the kids are grown and out of the house, and then mom and dad look at each other and say, "Who are you?" You know, they've lost because they've focused so much on the kids, they haven't focused on their own marriage or their own relationship. Continue to talk to each other. Just because you're sitting on the couch next to each other watching TV doesn't mean that you know what's going on. You need to have a conversation with your partner, with your spouse. And say, you know, learn about what's going on in their day, what's happening. How can I make this relationship better? You know, what can I do for you to make this better? Especially if your relationship is rocky. But even if it's good, you know, in an ideal world, what can I do to make this relationship better? And then listen to what they have to say. Don't just give that lip service. You know, if they say, you know, it would be really great if you'd help me with the dishes after dinner, then do it. You know, it's, you know, you have to put yourself out there. You have to work on the relationship. You can't expect your partner to do it. And oh, I'm sorry, Marilyn, her phone died.
So what she did is she jumped off, I guess, Facebook, and now she's on YouTube because she doesn't want to miss anything. She's on Jim Masters TV on our YouTube channel.
Wow. Awesome.
Cool stuff, huh?
Yeah, this is awesome.
You enjoying yourself?
Yeah. Well, God, I'm just looking at this. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes.
If this was a bar, we would have closed the place.
I know, right?
If you have any last questions, folks, we're going to get it ready to wrap. So, you know, Rick can have his dinner or whatever. His dinner. Any last questions or thoughts? Anybody? Feel free to throw it in while we're here live, or we have Rick, and we appreciate all the time and everything that he has spent with us, and we appreciate that. So what are some of the things you're doing right now, Rick, to get through, you know, this downtime? Are you writing? Are you creating? You said you're blogging, which is cool.
I blog every week, and that comes up on my website every Thursday, and there's a video attached to that. I video record because some people like to see it in video and don't want to spend the time reading. But so it's available both ways there, and I do have a YouTube channel where those videos are stored. But beyond that, you know, for me personally, the last 4 summers I've spent up in northern Michigan, northern Wisconsin. I've been blessed to inherit the sailboat that I grew up sailing on when my dad passed away a couple of years ago. So, I've got an upcoming blog about this very thing, about the things that we tell ourselves that we can and cannot do. And for years, I've told myself that I'm not a mechanic, and I'm not a great mechanic. But what I've discovered in this last where are we, August, in the last 9 months, that I can do a lot more than I thought I could. Right. I've just pulled a motor out of this sailboat, put in a new motor, and I'm about ready to finish hooking it up. You know, and a year ago I was said, nah, I'm going to hire somebody to do that. But I've learned. And that's one of the positive outcomes of what we're dealing with is, you know, and there's so many great things online, so many great resources. Look at the Jim Masters show, all the resources that you have available here, you know, for your audience to go back and look at the conversations. You know, so there's, you know, I'm just amazed. Personally, what I have accomplished, and I try to share that with people, that almost anything you want to do, you can accomplish. it just takes time, and there's always resources. Find people that have done it and talk to them, get their input. Go to YouTube, you can Google to virtually anything.
Now you can Google anything. Yeah.
And so, if there's one thing that I can impart is you can get better at anything you want to do. Dating, relationships, changing a motor in a boat, crocheting. There are courses, there are things, ways to learn all of these things. And so, you have to take the initiative to look these things up. Kathleen, thank you.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
She's wonderful in New York City. You mentioned about doing things that you never thought you could do. I did always wonder in school about that kid that was always able to take the Etch-a-Sketch and do a Mona Lisa in like 10 minutes. And you're still trying to do a square.
Yeah, I'm the kid with the square.
How did that? I don't understand.
Yeah, there's some dexterity there. Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
But you got to try. You got to try. And again, whatever it is in life, I think what I've said on the air here on this show and off air too, in conversations with family and friends and colleagues, I think this is a very, very unusual and uncharted time we're in right now. But it could really be an incredible time to enrich relationships, to enrich the relationship we have with ourself as well.
Yes.
Self-love, appreciating, like you said, things you didn't think you knew how to do, now you're doing. In order to be able to be free and open and to be able to say, I love you, and to be able to express it and to be in loving relationships and friend relationships as well, you have to have an understanding of who you are, what your needs are, what you're about, and have self-love. And I think this is a perfect time right now where it's a reset, where I hope we come out of this kinder, friendlier, more empathetic, listening to one another and loving one another more. It may sound Pollyanna, and a couple of people have said, good luck with that, Jim. Still, yeah. I think if you look forward and positive and you take what you have now and enhance it, the relationships that you have now, it could be a beautiful thing when we hopefully come out of all of this, rise from these ashes of everything we've been dealing with this year, right?
Absolutely. And you kind of touched on something that I try to preach, and that's constantly fill your head with good things. I'll always be learning something new, learn something about yourself. With all due respect, you can listen to the news all day long. It's, we're 24 hours. You'll get so depressed listening to that stuff. Listen to podcasts, listen to Jim and when you're driving, listen to interviews, talk, and just, there's so much good information out there. And the more information, good stuff that you pour into your head, read a good book. I started out reading one book a year. And now I'm reading about 25 or 30 books a year. And, Audible makes that real possible because I drive between here and Kansas City every month. But it's so important to keep learning, keep your brain active, keep filling it with good stuff, and you'll be able to accomplish great things or impact the world in great ways. Even if it's just to give somebody a smile, even if it's just to brighten somebody's day, or just have a fun conversation with somebody. It's, you can do that, but you can't do it if you're Debbie Downer or Doug Downer or whatever. And wake up each morning, look at the mirror, put a smile on your face and say, I love you. And, it will go a long way to changing who you are and what you think about yourself.
That's right. And I tell everybody to make sure, I usually say it at the end of every show, I tell them to relax,
absolutely,
relax and breathe. Yeah. You can relax, Rick. Right. Even I have to remind myself, I'm telling everybody else, sometimes we also have to pay heed to what we're expressing to others as well. Right.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You find yourself having to do that as well sometimes?
Oh yeah, I have to, I have to keep telling myself that I need to take time away from what I do. I love what I do, but what I found over the last 30 years is that if I don't take time away to just put all of this aside, that I get bogged down. My brain doesn't function properly. So every once in a while, I have to take a long weekend and just get away from everything. And when you can do that, it clears your head. I try to get out and exercise because that helps clear my head. So I'm just looking around the corner to see it's pretty dark. I'm not going to get a bike ride in tonight, but I'll try to get one in tomorrow.
You try to do it once a day?
What's it? I try to. This summer has been crazy, and with projects going on here in Ironwood, Michigan, with in this building that I'm in, and projects with the boat, and then stuff going on in Kansas City. It's been really hard because I'm chasing back and forth, but I try to do it as much as I can. So.
Well, Rick, we really appreciate this amazing conversation that we've had. It really, really was terrific. I think Renee summed it up. We lovity this show, and Willie and Holland still with us. It's like almost 4 a.m. where she is. She hasn't gone to bed all day. She's loving it. Kathleen, Jim's show is how we became the Lovity Bunch.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
Awesome.
It's all about positivity and inspiration and coming together, and we all have something to bring to the table, right?
Absolutely. We all have something to offer.
Exactly.
That's,
so
don't be afraid to share it.
Right. That's the key. Right. Don't be afraid to express it and to share it. Absolutely. Give us the website again.
It's ricksoetebier.com, and you can get my blogs there, my book. Then I'm on Facebook, and it's Rick Soetebier Coach. And then where else am I? I do a Monday live. It's about a 30 to 40 minute just a live event, a free flowing. It's called Monday Mastery Live at 5 on Facebook. So join me there, and I talk about whatever's happened over the weekend and how it applies to dating and relationships. So then my YouTube channel is Rick Soetebier. So
we'll make sure we subscribe to each other's channels.
Yep. We did that yesterday or the day before. And yep.
Cool. It's all about connecting and staying in touch.
Yeah.
Everybody's supporting everybody, right?
Absolutely.
Well, this was awesome, and this was amazing. Thanks for all of the great time. And this really isn't a topic you can do in a soundbite or a quick headline.
No.
You come in for 20 minutes. Okay, tell us what you do. What's the book? All right, why do we screw up our relationships? See you later. It's one of those things where I think you really got to spend time. And that's something that I love to do. And a lot of people, when watching this series that I created 13 weeks ago, it's giving them feelings instead of sort of like Johnny Carson or the Dick Cavett conversations, where you used to just spend time and amongst friends, and it was calm and relaxing, but you were left like, wow, that's amazing. I learned something today. That was cool. It was fun. It was easy. And
well, this was awesome, because I even picked up a couple of things tonight, from the comments that have been scrolling by. It's awesome. You've got an awesome audience. Gosh, guys, I love you guys. And thanks for all your questions and comments. And it's been a hoot.
Somebody asked, is the book available in the Kansas City local shops? She lives there.
No, I was in a lot of the local shops, but after a while, they just said, no, we're done. And the book industry is a tough industry.
Very tough.
But but Pamela, if you go to my website, I'll get a book off to you, within a day, and you can have it in a couple of days through the post office.
Willie in Holland doesn't want us to end.
Willie, thank you so much.
Another quickie here. Jennifer says, zodiacs. Should you research zodiacs? Would that help in advance to find their astrological signs? And
I've got mixed feelings about that. I don't follow the zodiac. I know I'm a Pisces, but what that means, I don't know.
You're a fish in water.
Exactly. I to me personally, it doesn't make or break a relationship for me. I don't care. What is
Stop there.
important to me is whether you have my must-haves and deal breakers, whether whether we're developing intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and physical connection, whether we speak similar love languages, and then is there that chemistry? Because you can have all this other stuff, and if the chemistry isn't there, it's just
So you
all
exactly. You can be assured, folks, that when and if you ever meet Rick, he will not be one of those people, and he's one of the rare ones that will immediately ask you, "What's your sign?"
exactly.
Danilo in San Diego quickly says here, "Thank you, Rick. This session is very captivating and informative. I believe in continuing the communication and learn more how to make the relationship better. Walking hand in hand as you travel the same room, the same direction is helpful." That's so true, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have all these things in common, because then you're walking in the same direction. You're not going off in different directions.
Exactly, exactly. Last minute coming in here. People have called me Pollyanna, but I would rather be a Pollyanna than a Scrooge. That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You know, it was funny. The other night, I said to her, Pamela Perkle, the show was educational. You're very welcome, Willie. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Willie.
Renee said, very interesting conversation. There's been a lot of those
Thanks,
comments.
Renee.
With Pamela, it's funny. I said it to be, I think of a little intuitive. I said, I love that name, Pamela Perkle. I said, for some reason, I envision you as the woman across the street who, when you move in across the street from Pamela Perkle, she's going to come over to your house with a welcome basket and a bunk cake. And she's going to say, "Hi, I'm Pamela Perkle. Welcome to the neighborhood. Here's my husband, Mr. Perkle. Here are the kids, Perkle. If you'd like to come over for dinner, come on over." And then she said the other night, she says, "You got me down." That's me. I'm the woman that comes over with the bunk cake and the welcome basket to welcome you. And I'm Pamela Perkle. Just from the name and the picture, she just,
Yeah.
seems
Awesome.
like a very perky name. This was amazing again. Thanks for all the time, Rick. We really appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime. Spread the word about our show here. We would love that.
Absolutely.
And hope at some point, East Coast, West Coast, or in the middle, maybe we get together, break bread.
Yeah.
Cool to do. And I'd love to have that opportunity. And Christine
Yeah.
says there's not enough of us out there that will create a better normal. What do you think?
There's enough of us out there that will create a better norm. Absolutely. I think, it all starts with us individually. It's we have to do what we have to do to make our lives better. Uh, you know, and if we all take one step forward, just think of all the steps forward that can happen.
That's right. You just got to take the step forward. Well, my friend, I certainly hope you enjoyed your time with us as much as I have with you.
Jim, thank you. This has been amazing. I'm just in awe that we went this long, and it's been awesome. Like I said earlier, your audience is fantastic. The questions were great, and I've just loved being here.
It was our pleasure. I hope you felt comfortable and
Yep.
relaxed to express as you have. And we try to set that tone here. And it's my pleasure to have you as my guest, my friend, and wish you continued success. We encourage folks to get the book, to make contact as well. More thank yous coming in here. Thank you, Rick. This was great. Thank you for all your insight. Thank you. Thank you, Jim and Rick. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Rick,
Thank you
all the best. You stay safe. You be well. We'll see you again soon, and you're welcome anytime. We don't always have to go this long. This was nice. It was really cool. We just let it roll.
Yeah, that's what made this so awesome. We just let it go.
And Merlin in Canada. Good night, Rick and Jim. Loved it.
Good night, Merlin.
Can't do any better than that, right?
That's right.
Good night, Rick. Take care. You be well, and thanks for being on the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Good night, Jim. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye now. Great conversation, huh? I certainly hope you learned something. Thank you very much. We love you back. Thank you very much. Good night, lovedies. You're all very welcome. I'm glad you say. I tell you, on the Jim Masters Show, we do something different every night. Something different, something unique. Sometimes we have music. Sometimes we have food. Sometimes we have all kinds of different things. And tonight was about relationships with relationship coach and expert and author and speaker, Rick Soetebier. And we certainly hope you enjoyed that. And again, the book, I want to show you the book again, just so you see it. You can get it again on Amazon. There it is, Dating Backward. You can pick that up as well. He's also got his blog and his website. Great guest. It was a pleasure all the time that he shared with us. And this is what we were talking about tonight, right? Throughout the evening, love. Perfect timing for that. And it was a pleasure having him on the show. And one of these days, we'll certainly have him back, and we'll talk a little bit more. Thanks for all the great questions, everybody. You guys were terrific with all the questions. Again, it was a wonderful, yes, education. It was very educational, Willie. Thanks for being with us, Willie. It's 4 a.m. where you are there in the Netherlands, and for everybody all around the world, Brazil and Spain and Canada and California and Ohio and New York and Florida. And what's cool is a lot of people also will be watching this in the archives as well. If you missed an episode of any of the broadcasts of our show and our entertainment lifestyle talk show series here, the Jim Masters Show Live, just go to YouTube at Jim Masters TV. You can watch this. If there's somebody that you know who maybe is struggling in a relationship, can use some good advice and wisdom and some levity, which we had as well. You got to have the levity. Share this episode on YouTube from Jim Masters TV. Share it with a friend or another family member. Maybe even your spouse or partner. Maybe share it to them, and maybe they'll learn something as well. So we're always about inspiration, fun, levity, excitement, entertainment, education, information here on the Jim Masters Show Live. So guys, we really appreciate you being with us here as well. As I do say, relax, breathe, take care of one another, love one another, be well. We will be back tomorrow night. We've got a really cool guest tomorrow night, Scott Schwartz. Now, Scott Schwartz, I'll show you the picture again. Scott Schwartz was in several productions, but two of the most memorable are The Toy with Jackie Gleason and Richard Pryor, and A Christmas Story, where he was the kid that got his tongue stuck to the pole. He's going to be live and direct from California with us exclusively here on the Jim Masters Show Live. So we're going to be going into the world of movies tomorrow with actor Scott Schwartz. And that's going to be really, really cool. And then on Saturday night, we've got a very, very special show on Saturday night. Very special guest exclusively. A couple of my friends in television put this together, and I really appreciate that. This is Dreama Denver. Dreama Denver is the wife of Bob Denver, who was Gilligan on Gilligan's Island. That's right. And she's an extraordinary performer herself and writer. She has wonderful children's books out. We're going to talk about that. And she's also a radio station owner as well. And we're going to be blessed by her presence and her wit and wisdom on Saturday night. Dreama Denver is exclusively here. And on Sunday, we're booked. You know, we're booked with guests all the way till October. We just launched the Jim Masters Show Live 13 weeks ago. And a lot of my friends in television and music and film have hopped on, but a lot of other people, health and wellness and science and food, and they've hopped on as well. Jerry Castaldo is going to be with us on Sunday. That's right. He's a fantastic performer. He's an author. He's an avid viewer and fan of the Jim Masters Show Live as well. He's with us Sunday night. He's going to perform live as well. That's right. He's going to be performing live this Sunday on the Jim Masters Show Live. So again, such variety as an entertainment lifestyle talk show series. We've got something for everybody. Every night is something different. And hopefully it lifts you up, it inspires you, and you leave watching these episodes, whether live or in the archives, fulfilled and maybe you learned something and maybe it lightened the load for you. So Jerry Castaldo is with us this Sunday, and I'm with you every day. Your host, Jim Masters, live here. And don't forget, we always do this at the end of the show. I might be the host and producer and star of the show, but you guys are the stars. You and you and you and you and you and you. All you guys and gals, everybody around the world. You guys are the stars of the Jim Masters Show Live. So we're going to wrap up. This was really something else, but a really good, juicy topic, and one you can refer to again and again and again. If you missed anything, feel free to just watch it again in the archives at Jim Masters TV. Once again, we thank our very special guest, Rick Soetebier, and brilliant guest to have here on the show. And we appreciate all the time that he spent. He spent a good amount of time with us here on the show. We thank him for that. And we thank you for joining us as well here on the Jim Masters Show Live. We certainly hope you enjoyed this episode and all the episodes. Feel free to share the links, have watch parties, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and spread the word as we continue to build and grow and expand our audience and so much more. The content is here. The guests are here. We built the home studio. It's all right here for you. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, just about every night, nightly. Did I sign up for that? Every night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. This is your host, Jim Masters. Thanking you for your time. This time till next time. I will be here tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. in Brazil, 1 a.m. in Holland, midnight in Hampshire, where Avril Britton is, in England. And we hope you have a wonderful night. And Pam might bring some celery juice too. I'm going to ask her what that is. Thanks for tonight. It was very interesting. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Terrific coffee time. Corey, coffee time for Willie. That's right. It's the day's going to be starting. Lots of coffee. She loves her coffee. All right, gang. Love you. Thanks for enjoying the show and watching and sticking with us with this extended episode, and continue spreading the word, spreading the lovity. We really appreciate that as we continue to grow and expand with this show together. That's what it's all about. Love you all. You're a blessing in my life, and I'm happy to be in yours. Thanks for coming into my world, and I'm happy to come into yours every night. You take care. Be good to each other. Stay safe. Be well. Keep smiling, and keep watching the Jim Masters Show Live. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.